Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Death is the best kick of all. That's why they save it for podcast.
Okay.
It's my Ron Silver. It was I'd say more of a Ron Bronze. I don't think I really hit that one out of
Ron
the park.
Brass?
Ron Brass.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name's Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. That's the name of the podcast. We are hashtag the two friends. It's a competitive advantage. I wish other shows had that going for them because, God, is it working out for us? This is a podcast about filmographies. Right? Do you agree?
I do.
I'm just looking for your approval, David.
I approve.
Directors who have massive success early on in their careers and were issued a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes, hold on one second. Pow! They bounce, baby.
Yeah, bring back Marin for this one.
I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
This is a miniseries on the films of Catherine Bigelow.
Okay.
It's called Pod 19, The Widowcaster.
Yep.
Obviously.
Mm.
We have gotten to our third film in
Only
her
her third film.
Only her third film.
Yeah.
And this is the one where I'd say it all starts totally clicking.
Yeah. This is where she's ensconced in Vestron, that great Hollywood studio.
Deep in home video company turned short-lived theatrical production company,
Mm-hmm.
Vestron. And it's a movie that fucking rules.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. It fucking rules.
Great movie.
Called Blue Steel. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Mack Weldon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We're making money now, baby.
Yeah. Thank you, Mack Weldon.
You see that Reddit post where people were like, how can we help the two friends make money?
We'll tell you. Believe me.
Oh, yeah.
It involves a promo code.
Oh, get ready.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. We have a guest who we've been trying to have on for a little while now.
I like how you're holding up the mug. It really makes it feel like we're in like daytime radio.
I feel very professional now. We got sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching.
They're watching.
They're watching.
And they're
move.
listening.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. People know they're listening because it's a podcast. But our sponsors are watching, which is why I need to have good angles on this
Great.
coffee mug.
Yeah. We have a wonderful guest who we've been trying to get on. He was supposed to be on the Interstellar episode,
Yes.
and
Scheduling's.
Griffin got sent to Australia.
Time dilation
Yeah, seriously.
got in the way of the Interstellar one.
We knew the math, we knew the theory.
And you were sending us some hot takes through the bookshelf
I was
right.
during
trying
the
to.
episode.
I was
the-
trying to.
The walls shook
Have
every
you
every
checked
20.
your analog watches? Because it's clicking the way I want you to give my
There's a hot take in here.
Yeah.
hot tick.
Hey now.
No, I didn't mean tick. I said tick like a watch, but tick also.
But let's also we're also sponsored this episode by The Tick.
Yeah.
Our guest today, he is a podcast host himself
True.
of Engage, the official Star Trek podcast.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It's a big time for Star Trek fans, let me tell you.
None of this unofficial bullshit.
No.
We're at peak Star Trek right now, and you're the man officially guiding everyone.
That's true. That's true. I am the host of Engage, the official Star Trek podcast.
And he's a film critic himself. Jordan Hoffman, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, listen.
It's lovely to have you.
It's love. It's love all around.
Yeah.
I've got my arms extended right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm embracing everyone listening.
Now this is one of the lesser known, more forgotten Catherine Bigelow movies.
Oh, yeah. And
It is.
And when Mr. Sims said to me, we're doing Bigelow next.
Right, because we tried to have you on for Nolan. He
Yeah.
said, are there any of these that jump out to
And
you?
I suggested Near Dark to you just because it's a genre picture. I thought you might have a take, but you were like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen Near Dark.
No.
Or maybe you had like 20 years ago,
Yeah.
like whatever. Yeah.
But I know Catherine Bigelow has made films that people really love.
Sure.
Like
Your Hurt Lockers.
Hurt Locker's quite good. Zero Dark 30's really good. What's the one with Patrick Swayze? That one's good
Point
too.
Break.
Point Break is really
Classic.
good.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all about Ron Silver
Yeah.
doing his
crunches.
His crunches. Oh,
He's
talking to
Jordan has raised his arms twice now.
Ron Silver is talking to the voices in his head
Yeah.
that want him to kill.
Mhm.
He doesn't like those voices.
I'll say this too. I watched this movie. I had not seen it before last night. And I was just like, oh, this could be like a solid like Bigelow B picture.
Right. I
That's
figured
what
I was
thought.
going to watch an okay cop movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I watched this and I was like, this is kind of the urtext. Like, this movie contains everything I like about Catherine Bigelow as a filmmaker. It's the one that unifies all the different threads, all the different stylistic moves, you know?
It is, it is elevated cop movie.
Yeah.
To use the phrase that everyone hates right now.
Yes.
Elevated horror. This is elevated. Like, it's a cop movie. It's like this plot is really simple.
But I also like that it's kind of a horror movie.
It's more,
It is a horror
like
movie.
it's a
for
slasher
sure.
film, weirdly.
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis is not in it by accident. I mean,
Right.
it's
Yes,
for sure.
Right.
Ron Silver becomes Michael Myers by the end of this
I
movie.
read back to Roger Ebert's review, and he said this is actually the best Halloween sequel that's ever been made.
Oh,
like,
that's
this
fine.
is the grown-up version of Halloween.
Well, right. And also, I think just thinking of Bigelow's later career, I think I was expecting more of like a shoe leather NYPD movie
That's
about
what I was
like,
also expecting.
you know, life on the force and
Yeah.
she's a new cop. And instead, like almost immediately, it dispenses with any like realism.
Yeah, the only realism in the movie is on the floor of the stock exchange. Those
Yes.
shots are done handheld.
Sure.
So good.
And those
Yeah.
shots are great. I mean, it's no trading places. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's done really well. You could see Ron Silver flipping out, selling soy futures or whatever the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
And those shots really have some grit. Everything else has got the sheen. Can put Mr. Ridley Scott to shame.
It's true. And this is when
And
Ridley Scott's really struggling. He should
You
have
put
made
this up
movie.
against his New York picture at the time, Someone to Watch Over Me.
Mhm.
I take this any day of the week.
But I'll say,
I
like, you
agree.
even like compare like 90s Bigelow to like 80s Tony Scott, right?
Yeah.
Who was like pioneering a lot of these, like, you know, this sort of visual language,
The
the
hunger in this,
overcranked.
the hunger in this are very
Right.
simpatico.
But I feel like there's a weight to the images in this movie that feels like a real evolutionary step beyond the like stylization of the 80s with like the Atmos and the shallow focus and the crazy lighting.
Yes, I
and
mean,
the color filters and all that sort
it
of
has
stuff.
all of that, but it has one thing that those other movies don't have, which is a very new and unique and instantly sympathetic character.
Yes.
In Jamie Lee Curtis, who you're 12 seconds in this movie, like, I support her because she's alone. She's the only woman
Sure.
Right.
graduating from the police academy. Parents aren't there because we'll
Yeah.
find out why later.
Right.
And I want her to succeed.
And-
And the man, literally and figuratively,
Will not let her.
will not let her.
Right. It's a glass ceiling movie.
For sure.
And it's a movie that, like, yeah, the thing that's so great about the movie, we've been talking a lot about tension with Bigelow, because she really is a tension filmmaker, right? All of her movies
Yes.
are based around playing off of some kind of tension, both within the scenes and the larger narrative. And this is a movie where, like, so much of the tension comes from the fact that every single scene would play differently if she were a man. Like, you feel this frustration.
Her body and like the threat, like there's sort of threat in the air, like, and like her body is invaded so many times in this movie. Mostly, you know, people pushing her, people
Yeah.
sort of getting in her space,
But also how people interact with her
Yeah.
on a scene-by-scene basis. You just feel this frustration of, like, the audience is so on board with this character, and the movie is not taking her seriously. You know, or the
Oh,
other
I
people
see.
in the movie.
Right. Oh, yeah, like Clancy Brown. It takes him a really long time
Right.
to treat her as an equal.
Right.
And then he stoops her
Right.
with his tongue.
yeah,
There's
Spoilers.
so much.
Spoilers, but
Well, wait,
there's
wait.
some serious
He's
tongue
joking.
stopping.
Oh, okay. Wait. Let's back it up a minute, though.
Sure, yes.
Because you're right. There have been some recent films that are like kind of like cop movies or action movies where like the only one that's coming to mind right now is Salt with
Sure.
Angela, and the whole shtick was like it was written for a guy, but then
Right.
a woman stepped in and it didn't change the movie at all.
Yeah,
That's not the case with this at all. This is about a policewoman
right.
from, you know, it wouldn't work as a rookie cop who makes a mistake in a supermarket. You could make that movie.
You could, but
it's not that.
I think the arc that this character goes through and the incidents that happen to her and around her are
Yeah.
very specific to her gender. And I think Catherine Bigelow, above all else, like, because she gets pegged a lot as like, oh, this woman who makes these films about masculinity,
yeah.
which I think is like, she's good at that. She found a niche doing that. She played into that niche well. But I think the bigger thing is she just has a very, very keen take on the differences behaviorally between the genders,
Yeah.
you know?
And the iconography leans the hell into it. And the opening credit scene, it's all, I don't want to say what it is. They look like guns going in holsters, but you
Right.
can tell me what they are.
Right. But
Do we have is anybody with a with an English lit degree, David, who could tell me what that
You're
symbolizes.
talking about peepees and vajayjays.
There's a lot of that.
That's what, Jordan, you're talking about putting peepees and vajayjays?
There's a lot of penis stuff going on in this movie.
Sure. Yes.
There's a lot of Ron Silver not knowing what to do with his penis, being obsessed with the fact that his girlfriend, Jamie Lee Curtis, seems to know what to do with a penis substitute more than he does.
He is,
Right.
He is transfixed by the idea of a gun.
His character is all impotent rage. And the fact that
Right.
this movie is like, here's another thing. Okay, so it's like, this isn't just a movie starring a policewoman. It's a movie about a police woman, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
This also isn't a movie that happens to have a lot of gun violence. It's a movie about guns.
Yeah.
Yes,
in a
very much
really
so.
fascinating
This
way.
is a movie about loading a revolver,
Right.
like
So, and
things like that.
The
Yes.
power
Some
of having
say-
a
The
gun.
weird sexual thrill that comes
Right.
with it. Yeah,
Some
yeah, yeah.
condemn this film for being a little too fetishistic.
Sure. Yes. It definitely has that almost at times, which I think is a problem that she has run into many times in her career, where she loves those details and is like gets so fixated on
Sure.
them,
Yeah.
and people see it as like somewhat pornographic,
Right. I mean, there's
which I think is great.
there's the very early in the film when she just after the graduation, just after the opening title sequence, she's getting dressed in the locker room with the lights coming in and whatnot.
Right.
And it's
She's
shot.
putting on the shirt, buttoning over the bra.
It's shot
yeah.
like Aliens.
Yeah.
It's shot like boom, boom. Shoes, harness,
Right,
this,
yeah.
that, and when it's a science fiction movie, it's a whole different world, so
Right.
to speak, than this. It's like, what are we glamorizing here?
Mhm.
But I
NYPD in the
kind
late
of
80s, early 90s.
love, I mean, the way she plays with iconography, everything has such a weight, and importance in this movie. Like, every single shot in this movie feels iconic
Oh yeah, yeah, it's so gorgeous.
because it's
Yes.
so deliberate and there's such a texture to every single image. I find like it's not just style for style's sake. Like, she's playing in this weird sphere where it's simultaneously incredibly heightened but also super grounded. A lot of that is Jamie Lee Curtis, who I think is doing some unbelievable like underplaying in every scene.
If you were Jamie Lee Curtis, would this be the movie you're most proud of in
I
the
think
whole career?
so. I think this is the best I've ever seen her be.
I mean, she should be very proud, certainly, of being in A Fish Called Wanda, which is a masterpiece,
Right,
but
sure.
she's in the ensemble.
Right.
Halloween is fine, but
Halloween's great, but
come on,
it's a wonderful movie, and Halloween's great. No,
It's great.
Halloween's
It's fine, but it's not about her. I mean,
she is better than a lot of actresses
average
are in
bear,
that
yeah.
role. But yes, it would be a little. I think even she'd probably think it'd be a little silly for people to think of that as her quote unquote best performance.
Right.
But we talked about when we did our True Lies episode for Cameron, how weird her sort of career was, where it was like the Halloween arc, and then she has Trading Places right after that, and then for a while she was like a big star, but she didn't have any things that really fit.
Right.
She's
And
great
then-
in True Lies. I mean, that's later. I'm sorry. I
Right,
was
but
just
then that
thinking
was
about
kind of like
Jamie
a
Lee
second
Curtis.
wave sort of thing,
Yeah.
and
Right,
then
right,
she
right.
goes into like comedy mom sort of territory.
Right. She is fantastic in Freaky Friday. Actually, that
Agreed.
is a genuinely sensitive
Agreed.
and three-dimensional comic
And she got very
performance.
close to getting an Oscar
She
nomination.
did.
for
She's
that.
very good at that movie. I mean, because she's talented.
But we were
She-
saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
she's had a great career. She's been in a lot of classics.
Yeah.
She's been in a lot of movies that had cultural import. She's done a lot of really good work and whatever. But it does feel like this movie should have been the start of a phase in her career
Yeah,
that didn't
yeah.
totally
Well, but
kickstart.
remember what she's doing right when this movie comes out, or did you might remember?
19 is after Fish Called Wanda.
This is after A Fish Called Wanda. This is
Right.
after Trading Places, right? Because Trading
Yeah,
Places
Yes.
Fish
is
Called Wanda was, I want to
Train
say,
Places was
88.
early. Yeah.
because Trading Places is 83. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Fish Called Wanda. Actually, let me find
think
it.
it's 87,
is
88.
88.
Yeah.
Right.
But in 89, she starts on a sitcom called Anything But Love that nobody ever remembers, but
wait.
ran for 4 seasons.
Wait, is that the one with Richard Lewis?
Yes.
Not
a
I was really
Whatever.
into Richard Lewis at the time,
Richard Lewis is great.
and
He's a
I was an Anything But Love apologist.
sure.
Because that show is pretty nothing.
It's a sitcom.
It's not good. It's not good.
But-
But I would watch it a lot, waiting for the real Richard Lewis to show up, and there would be like one joke
Sure.
per episode.
Right.
There would be like
exactly.
one funny thing, and I would watch it every week. And then I stopped because then that one funny thing a week became one funny thing every 2 weeks.
Right.
But it was a
ran. It ran for 56
I
episodes.
had
It wasn't
zero clue that she was on a sitcom for 4 years after becoming a movie star.
Yeah,
exactly, and it's sort of, but it's obvious. Like when you're looking at her resume,
Yeah.
Obviously she's in Halloween, The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, Escape from New York. Well, she's not in Escape from New York. That's a voice, but Halloween 2, where so she's the Scream Queen, right? And
Right.
then she's in Trading Places, and people are like, oh my god, and She's in like Perfect, which is really
Right, there are a
big
couple
hit.
80s.
Hit. Not a good movie, but
not a
big
good
hit.
movie, but sort of a sex symbol movie. I get. And Fish Called Wanda. A lot of these are bad though, like A Man in Love and.
What's A Man in Love?
I have no idea.
Sounds Merchant and Ivory.
She's barely. She's like the third lead in that.
Okay.
Let's see. Amazing Grace and Chuck is a Mike Newell movie. Like I've never heard of some of these movies.
But doesn't it feel like you watch this and you go like, this should have become the Jamie Lee Curtis archetype?
Yes,
right.
but-
And instead, after this, she's like the mom in My Girl.
But
you
this
know what I
movie-
mean? Like she
Right.
gets shunted over.
And then True
right.
Lies, she gets to ultimately play this
She's-
at the end of the movie, but a lot of it's a deconstruction of that. It's
Right,
in a
but she's
comedy
definitely
space.
playing on the more like.
By the end of the
mom
movie,
image,
she
right.
gets to own the full Jamie Lee Curtis
This
thing. Yeah.
movie was not a big hit.
Was a
No, it was a flop.
It was
Yeah.
because it was Vestron, like you
Right.
said. It became respected. It showed on cable, and then
Right.
when Point
Break comes out, right, people are like, oh,
people
this director is like,
retroactively liked it. That's when I saw it. I
Sure.
saw it on TV after Point Break.
yeah, no, because this movie was barely released. Yeah,
right,
like
right.
because it was acquired by like MGM after Vestron went bankrupt,
Right,
and they like
right.
dumped it out in
And
March.
quite frankly, this movie is like on paper should not be as good as it is.
No.
It's good for two reasons: Jamie Lee Curtis, and Bigelow.
She directed the shit out of it. I mean, the
she
script's
direct-
smart,
yeah.
but pretty functional.
The script is
Well,
the script is functional until they get stupid at the end. It gets really stupid.
It gets dumb. Well,
How
but
does
also,
he find her in the subway at the end?
Right.
Like New York's a big town. I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but like she leaves the hospital.
Yeah.
I will find Mr. Ron Silver somewhere in this little burg of New York City. And she goes on the subway and he's there. Like, how
I like that it gets a little supernatural at the end of the movie because I think it gets a little non-literal. Like
but
I think
it
he
is-
starts
I
to
think
become
it's
more
non-literal
representational
from the beginning because he's not a diagnosable like
That's the other thing.
it's not like he has some sort where they're like, oh, this is a classic case of guy picks up a gun and like pours all of his 80s American Psycho rage into
The
it.
Wikipedia
Yeah.
page refers to him as like, you know, a futures trader with who also turns out to be a latent
A
psychopath.
commodities trader who
schizophrenic,
is a
yeah.
latent psychopath.
Well,
Right,
this
and
is-
it's like that's kind of reductive. Like, that's-
sure.
There's more going on here.
Well, it's also what he was just a successful commodities trader, and then at age 33, he's like, you know what? Shooting people in the
Right,
street.
right.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do
It's
now.
a little ridiculous. And then what also is extremely annoying is he's being seized by demons and like he's
Sure.
like, "Ah, I must
Yeah, he's
kill,
talking to
I must
himself."
kill," and
Yeah.
he goes and kills. But then
Yes.
20 minutes later, he's like the most crafty mustache twirling fellow when his lawyer shows
Yes.
up and he's like, oh, how could I have been there? I have
Well,
the perfect
the great
alibi.
Richard Jenkins.
But see, I
right.
think, oh god, this movie, when in the opening credits, if we could just start at the beginning,
Yeah.
the opening credits of this movie, I think I jizzed 6 different times because I was watching this and I was like, okay,
Boy,
Jamie Lee
oh
Curtis,
boy.
I know is in this movie,
Yeah, but
right?
you know everybody else.
Ron Silver, I know is in this movie.
Oh,
And
you're
then I'm
saying
just
the
watching
credits.
this
It's like
Murderers
Clancy
Row.
Brown, Elizabeth Pena, Richard Jenkins,
Oh.
Philip Bosco, Kevin Dunn, Tom Sizemore. He's not in the
I'm
credits. but-
losing my mind.
Griffin, can I tell you? Remember when I came in this morning?
Louise Fletcher's in this fucking
I know.
movie.
I know,
Academy
she's good.
Award
And Louise
winner.
Fletcher.
Star
Yeah.
Trek connection.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Of course, she's God. What the hell's her name?
Kai Wynn
Yes,
Adama.
yeah, of course.
But then even just getting like Mike Starr coming in as the superintendent for 2 lines. I'm
Sure.
like, oh, give me some good character actor, Bigelow.
Mhm.
Griffin said, let me tell you a tale
Sure, please regale me.
about Richard Jenkins.
Oh, the great Richard Jenkins.
A few short weeks ago, I was in the city of Toronto with your friend and partner, David Sims.
I have goosebumps right now already. I just know I'm going to get a good Jenkins
We're
tale, and I got
seated.
goosebumps.
It's not that good. Let me reel it in.
If
No,
it's
but-
about
but
Jenkins, then it's
I
good.
like how you're telling the story. though.
We're
It's fun.
seated at the Elgin Theater.
Yeah,
in
very
Toronto,
nice theater.
which is beautiful.
What are you going
And
to see?
where they shot scenes from the movie
Yeah,
in.
we
so
were
it's
there
cool.
to see the North American premiere of The Shape of Water, which had played days earlier at the Venice Film Festival
That's right.
had
And
come
won the
away
Golden Lion.
with the Golden Lion.
And my boy Jenks crushes in that movie.
How
right?
how do
We'll
you
get to
say
that.
Golden Lion in Italian? The Abruzzo Galozio. You know, right?
Correct.
So
5 Italian points.
Leone d'Oro.
the Loni d'Oro.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so we're seated in the Elgin Theater, which is an old theater. You know, it's one of these old theaters that they have more of these. They have very few now. It's a double-decker theater. You know a double-decker bus?
Yeah.
It's a double-decker theater. It's a full Broadway house.
Yeah.
You take 4 escalators up. There's there's a second Broadway house on top called the Winter Garden.
I know, which is also kind of a cool theater.
Yeah, because that's got like
it's got weird trees inside it, and
plastic
leaves.
grapes. Plastic
Very
grapes
weird.
are everywhere.
I saw
love
On
that.
Chesil Beach in that theater. It was poorly
weird.
matched.
Humble brag.
But we're down in the bottom, and it's opening night. There are some people there are in gowns, tuxes.
People are amped.
People,
Jordan's in cargo shorts.
I'm wearing.
pretty
I'm like
sure.
a schlub, and he's wearing a Def Leppard t-shirt or something.
Yeah,
but we're sitting next to
I'm
one
not
another.
in. Yeah.
To my right is Mr. Davidson's, your partner in podcasting. To my left is another colleague of ours, and the show is about to start.
Unnamed.
But yes, so the show is about to start.
Okay.
And before that, first of all, the mayor of Toronto comes out.
Mayor of Toronto comes
But
out to
not
introduce it, and I'm like, "Fuck! Can we just start the movie
Right.
already?"
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not the crack smoking mayor because
He's
died.
dead.
gone.
It's the other one,
Rob Ford.
so there's a new mayor in
It's not his
town.
brother, because his brother's now running.
His
Doug
brother's
Ford,
like
right?
a councilman. No, it's some nice thin white
he
guy
was
in
like
a suit.
he
you
was
know.
like this movie Shape of Water it was shot in Toronto. It is Toronto. The essence of Toronto is in this film. The crowd's seething with anticipation.
Sure.
But Sims and I, we're working, man.
Yeah,
we don't
like,
have time for
You're
this.
the clock.
Get the movie.
I'm like seeing another movie after
Yeah,
this
like
movie.
I don't want to see this little circle jerk of Toronto. I want to see the movie. Let's get started. Got my notebook out. So then they bring out the casting crew. Producers comes out. Light applause.
Yeah.
The cast comes out. Michael Stuhlbarg.
Hey,
Yeah, nice.
Polite, yeah.
Who's the woman?
Michael Shannon,
Sally
Sally
Hawkins,
Hawkins,
Michael Shannon,
Octavia-
Doug Jones,
Octavia Spencer,
Octavia
Doug
and
Jones.
We're all
yeah.
like, yeah, nice. Okay. And by the way, I didn't really know who was in this movie because
Sure.
I don't pay attention to these things. And then, and Sims,
not your job.
Sims and I are just like, yeah, come on, start the movie. Octavia, yeah, nice.
And Guillermo's up there. He's having
Yeah.
fun. He's
And
sort of
then
emceeing.
He
You know.
brings out, and now we'd also like to bring out a wonderful man, Mr. Richard Jenkins. So out walks Richard Jenkins, and to my right is David Sims. And if this was a movie, like the screen would have vignetted on him. And
Yeah, there would be like a tracking zoom
and then
shot of me.
if it was Snapchat, hearts would have flown out of his head. And he did two things simultaneously. I have to do the line reading.
Okay.
I have to give you a line reading. At first, he cooed like he was seeing an infant, and then he downshifted into thunderous approbation, in which he went. He saw Richard Jenkins, and David Sims went, "Oh, look at him!" And then, without missing a beat, he went, "Oh, look at him!" And then he just bolted upright and said, "He is a god!" And
I was very excited.
it was I've never seen a human being react that way
to a guy fucking walking out on
To a
stage.
guy
Yeah,
walking-
and be like, hey!
cooing
you know.
like he saw an infant and then seeing enlightened divinity before his eyes.
Can I tell you my favorite Ricky Jenks story?
Sure, go.
Oh, Richard J.
So when
I mean, he's got three
He is a
scenes
guy.
in this movie. I mean, you know,
God, does he
this is not
kill it.
off topic.
No,
Yeah,
he's
he's
in
so
Blue Steel.
He's actually in Blue
It's
Steel.
crazy when he walks in. I was like, oh, maybe we'll see young Richard Jenkins. And a bald guy walks in a suit, and you're like, I guess he was born 45 years
like
old.
the youngest thing I remember seeing Ricky Jenks in is Hannah and Her Sisters, and even
Sure.
in that,
Right, which is just a couple years or right around the same
plays
time as
the
this.
doctor who diagnoses.
I mean, he's
Right.
70. He's 70 years
He's
old.
been
He
at
wears it
for-
well.
He wears it well.
Yeah.
God, he maybe for my money, best eyes in cinema.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? He's got incredible.
he's got
He's
terrific
got
eyes,
Richard
yes.
Jenkins eyes. Is that what
Hannah and
you're
Her
saying?
Sisters is his second film credit. So
Oh,
it's
what's-
about
wow.
his first is Silverado.
Wow.
Silverado.
Tiny
In a
role in
hat.
Silverado.
Chaps, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite Richard Jenkins story, it's an anecdote, but when Entertainment Weekly does their issue after the Oscar nominations come out and they do their little profile of each of the acting nominees, and they always ask them how they found out, how they got the news.
Yeah.
Sure. So he was nominated for The Visitor. Is that what it's called?
Right, for The Visitor, which
The white guy plays the bongos.
right, a
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
I don't like,
It's okay.
but I have always argued that he should have been nominated that same year for Step Brothers. He
He's
should have been nominated
fantastic
Best
in
Supporting
Step
Actor for
Brothers.
Step Brothers,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
maybe his finest performance ever. In an amazing body of work. But they said, like, so how do you get the news? And he said, my son-in-law's father
Whoa.
called
Son-in-law's
me
father.
at like noon
Sure.
and was like, hey, congrats.
Oh,
Right?
wow. Yeah.
And I was like, on what? And he was like, you got nominated for the Oscar. So the two things to infer from that are Richard Jenkins has a really good relationship.
Yeah.
With his son-in-law's
Son-in-law's
father.
father.
Which is so on brand.
Is right. Essentially his
Well,
sort of brother-in-law-in-law.
Well, no, that's
right.
there's a Jewish term for that relationship. That's called the mishpucha.
right.
Right.
It's the son-in-law's father is the mishpucha to
Right.
you,
Right.
100%.
Right. So I
Okay.
love that Richard Jenkins loves his mishpucha.
Yeah.
But I also love that, like, no one remembered to call him.
right. His agent wasn't like, Richard, 25 years in this industry, you finally got a fucking Oscar nomination.
Best leading actor.
Yeah.
In a
You're there.
Year, you're competing with Mickey Rourke and Sean Penn.
He snuck in there.
Right.
Maybe they called on the wrong line. He's got a special line just that he likes on Saturday.
He's genuinely not one of those guys who's up at 6 a.m. watching the live feed and being
like maybe it wasn't all the way down to noon, but it was maybe like 8 a.m. when the nominations are at like 7 a.m. And he just said like his
5:30 a.m.
His mishpucha. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You're doing it very well.
Okay. Yeah. Called him and just casually was like, "Oh, Rick, by the way, congrats."
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even calling to
he
deliver
wasn't
the news.
saying,
he was
Richard, I've got great news for you.
Right. I guess they call every morning to talk about the newspaper or whatever. You know.
Did you see the Mets last night?
My favorite Jenkins is Flirting with Disaster. That's an unbeatable funny performance. He is such a funny actor.
You know what I also think?
But he's a bad guy in this.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, no,
he tries to melt steel beams in this. I mean, the blue steel.
Well,
I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's
melt steel beams.
He tries to. He's actually the baddest guy other than Ron.
I was going to argue.
Worse than
he is exploiting.
Silver,
right. Well, Silver's a psychopath.
Silver's a psycho. It's not his fault.
Right.
Crazy.
Where he is exploiting every institutional sort of like thing.
He's a scummy lawyer.
And he's a scummy lawyer. I mean,
would
he's
argue,
a common type in an 80s crime movie. Yes.
But like beyond the pale and so slick and so, but also while being so like frumpy and Jenkinsy and whatever. I would argue his entrance is the moment when the movie shifts into a different gear and becomes very representational. Because then I feel like she starts fighting not Ron Silver, but like unchecked male ego.
Sure.
Like the movie just like ratchets and then it's like he becomes supernatural. He becomes Michael Myers. He can show up anywhere. He is unstoppable. No one can catch him.
It's also the part in the movie when I was watching with my wife, she's like, this is dumb. It's when it breaks reality.
I love it. It breaks reality.
But it's fine. I liked it. I argued
But like
with
this is the kind of reality breaking.
Yeah.
Humble brag. Right before recording this episode, David, Ben and I.
Oh.
David, producer Ben and I. David, Purduer Ben and I, David the Benducer and I, David the Poet Laureate and I, David Birthday Benny and I, David Dirtbike Benny and I, David the Haas and I, David Mr. Hositive and I, David the Meat Lover and I, David the Fart Detective and I,
oh my God,
David the Fuckmaster and I.
That's my favorite one.
David and I, but not Professor Crispy.
Right.
No.
We're guest speakers at my father's class at NYU. My father's a professor at NYU, and he needed guest speakers, and so we talked about podcasting
Oh my God.
to his class. They're graduate students at NYU. They're Tisch graduate students. They're about to have their own sort of, diplomas on their wall.
Sure.
So we had to tell them that Ben has graduated to certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Kylo Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Say Bennything, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Sate, Ailey Benz with a $, Warhaz, and Purduer Bane. We had to let them know that.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Your job as a guest speaker is to give them a sense of what they have to look forward to.
We're doing great, Griffin. We're doing great.
We talked about Mother a lot.
We did.
Yeah, no, Mother's a good movie. I like that.
So I don't like Mother.
Oh, all right.
And my biggest struggle with Mother is I think you don't have a grounding character. Like in this
No anchor in Mother.
Right. And
no anchor in life.
I agree with you. I do agree with that.
I do agree.
I must say, I do agree with that.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like Curtis in this movie, as you said, you immediately understand the struggle of her daily life. She is so relatable. You're rooting for her so fucking hard. Whereas I think by design, Lawrence is just kind of a cipher and a victim and represents a larger point in that movie rather than being a real person you can relate to.
And you were not immediately oriented to her wavelength. You're kind of like the beginning of Mother, like, where the F
It's
am I?
very hard to read her. Now,
Different
she
type
is
of movie.
innately, agreed, innately a very empathetic performer, so that like helps you connect with the movie. And the movie also puts her through fucking awful bullshit. So it's like, if you have any sense of human decency, you're made uncomfortable by what you're watching.
Tried to brace a sink. You're gonna,
which it is tough. Let me tell you.
Bracing that sink.
But that, for me, that grounding makes the other elements in the film, which are more representational, more terrifying. And that works for me here.
Yes.
You know? That I feel like Jenkins, once he enters, it's like, fuck, this guy's invincible now because he's got this lawyer.
Right, he's got the law. Like, it's gonna come down to what the movie ends with, which is a shootout, which is like a Sergio Leone shootout on Wall Street with a pretzel cart.
Right.
He's hiding behind a Sabret's kosher hot dog cart.
Right.
and she's hijacking a car or something like that.
Right, but
And
it's like this movie becomes not her fighting one guy, because this one guy would be easier to stop. It becomes her fighting like unchecked male,
Yeah.
Well, right.
ego run
But
rampant.
also, if I can pull it back a little,
Please do.
Obviously she great. The opening credits are over her reciting the NYPD pledge, or
and
she's
Bigelow's
becoming a
just
cop.
fucking weaving images like none other. Like
Agreed. But if I just to
Yes,
hold on to your
please.
point that you guys are making, basically the first thing she does as a cop, she's in a convenience store. She stumbles across a robbery. Tom Sizemore, who was just he
this
wasn't
is his first role.
Yeah, he wasn't part of the movie. He was just robbing a convenience store. And she shot him.
Do you know what my favorite version of that
Where
joke
Catherine
is?
Bigelow was like, let's just get the cameras in there. Yeah, what was
My
your
favorite version of that joke, and I love that joke. I've cited before.
It's a great joke. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The
Pete's Dragon.
whoever tweeted after
Joe
Pete's
Reed.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Joe Reed tweeted, the great Joe Reed.
Great Joe Reed.
Tweeted, I love Pete's Dragon, but it was a little cruel of the filmmakers not to tell Robert Redford that he was in a movie.
It's always a good
Dragons
joke.
in these woods. But the other ones that I love, I think this was a friend who made this to me casually, but maybe it was in a review. Envy, the Barry Levinson movie.
Oh, sure.
There's
Ben
the
Stiller,
moment-
Jack Black.
Right, a weird film.
Very
There's
weird.
a moment 2/3 of the way through the film when they're driving a car in the middle of a dialogue scene and they hit Christopher Walken, who's crossing the street. And then the last third of the movie becomes about Christopher Walken. And someone claimed that it was just like, they hit him and we're like, fuck, this movie's not working. Let's go with whatever Walken's doing. Like, the movie literally crashes into Walken and he just hijacks it.
That is
But yes, Tom Sizemore at this time was a woolcap convenience store bandit. They had the cameras
Right.
rolling.
it was
and
a
then,
Sloan's. It was a they don't have Sloan's in New York anymore. It was
This
somewhere
was a chain? Okay.
Sloan's was a mini chain in Manhattan that was halfway between a convenience store and a supermarket.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
When I was in college, we used to buy 12 packs of Stroh's beer there.
So to talk
for
New
like
York,
nothing, for not much money.
to talk New York and New York specific,
Yeah.
you'd say it's halfway between a Dwayne Reed and a Gristedes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're talking here.
Right.
Yeah.
Only real New Yorkers
Yeah. Let
will
me
like
tell-
this episode.
But Dig, that scene though.
Well, that scene we can talk about that scene, but I can't barely remember what my point was. But she shoots him for robbing a convenience store and having
Right.
a gun and pointing it at her. And yes, the gun disappears.
Well, Ron Silver takes.
Ron Silver takes it, yes,
Yeah.
but still, any cop, she can't even perform the basic sort of function of a cop, the male function of a cop,
Which
where
is
like
to
he
plant
drew on me.
evidence.
Sure, well,
Right.
that's true
Right.
as well.
Right.
Immediately she's called into question because they don't buy it. Like,
No.
oh, the
Yeah.
gun disappeared. Yeah, sure, it disappeared, lady. I think you were probably like, you were having a fit of the vapors and you saw an
becomes
imaginary
a he said,
gun.
She said, and
Right.
you see them questioning everything
And
she's
it's like
doing.
he
in a
said,
way.
she said
Right.
he was pointing a gun at a fucking cash guy, like
Yeah.
the cash register
And,
man.
and you're watching the movie, you go like, they would never treat Gene Hackman like this. They would
Exactly.
never treat
That's what I'm
Mickey
saying.
Rourke like this.
You're
Like
right.
that's
But you wanna
She's
talk
not-
about
she's
that
not
scene.
she's not part of the club. Clancy Brown goes in there to tell a lewd joke. Doesn't even see her sitting there.
Yes. Which-
Clancy Brown, fantastic in this movie.
But that
by the way.
scene, the way that scene plays out is like kind of like, here's a scene that's a thesis for the entire movie.
Yeah.
Is like this guy comes in, doesn't even notice that she physically exists in the space.
Sure, right. Yeah.
Hijacks the movie for 90 seconds to make a gross blowjob joke,
Yeah.
then takes note of her and is like, shut the fuck up.
It's
immediately shuts her down.
It's a great way to get you in the audience to feel enraged,
Right.
And you sympathize with her so much. And what I wanted to say though about the scene in the supermarket though is just the
Yeah.
way that it's shot, because Michael Mann could do no better. It's just got the look of it is so great. It's very bright,
Very, very bright,
It has-
harsh fluorescent.
fluorescent,
lighting.
has all the brands. You
Yeah.
got like the old logos of brands, which I love in movies.
And the blood when she shoots him
Well,
is like bright red,
she's-
really like arterial.
this
sort
movie
of-
has incredible squibs.
yeah.
A lot of slow motion shooting.
Yeah.
And, even though she is protecting herself, she does kind of unload three.
Well, that's the thing, and she's
She-
got a hand cannon,
She shoots the shit out of him.
Yeah.
She doesn't just nick him. She blows him away.
You guys want to know a story about NYPD revolvers?
Please.
From my days as a union reporter.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So the NYPD used to carry a 6-shooter revolver for like many, many years, well past the time that like semi-automatic pistols were available, because it's impossible to get anything changed, union-wise and equipment-wise. And then the transit cops got 15 bullet like Glocks, like, you know, what the cops all care.
Right.
And when that happened, the NYPD were like, oh, all the cops started protesting. Hey, we got shittier guns than the trained cops.
Well, they got to be faster than Speeding Bullet.
Yeah, right. So now they have these guns where you just, you know, you can just empty a magazine in a few seconds. But yeah, she's got a old-fashioned giant, like 44 revolver.
But I do feel like there's a thing. This is what I miss about Bigelow working in sort of a heightened genre space. And I understand that became like a little bit of an albatross around her neck in terms of not being taken fully seriously as a filmmaker. So once she had the opportunity to free herself of those shackles, she did. But I think she is one of those people where like, this movie is so good at playing into all the stuff we like about these genre movies, being fetishistic, being super stylized, but then immediately like deconstructing, commenting on it. Where like, you have this scene where she shoots him too many times. The blood explodes way too much. It's in slow motion. It looks fucking gorgeous. Yeah. And then immediately she's called into an office and they're like, what, you didn't need to shoot the guy 4 times. But like, of course in a movie you do because it has to be like exciting.
How many times has Dirty Harry done the same thing?
Right. But that's the thing. If she's Gene Hackman, like you said, I don't think they're
great
like,
job.
Geez, you really unloaded on that guy. Train, or you know, come on. One shot wasn't enough.
It's a hell of a thing. And I think that this movie, and you know, we're 3 dudes talking about the feminist implications of this film, but be that as it may, I think that this movie is at least more upfront about its quote-unquote feminist aspects than Zero Dark 30 is.
Yeah.
Which goes out of its way to not talk about that and just be the movie and steamroll through its plot.
Sure.
You can read into certain things.
She's the motherfucker who found
this guy. Yeah. I mean, you can read into it all you want, but it's not on the surface the way it is here. And I don't think to the movie's detriment at all. No. I think that if this movie, like if Catherine Bigelow changed careers after this movie, it wouldn't be as well remembered as it is now because Bigelow went on to do great things, win the Oscar. But I do think that this is the type of movie that once in a while would show at, you know, the Quad or the Alamo Draft House or something. And everybody would be like, oh man, I love that one. Have you never seen the Jamie Lee Curtis one?
This feels like the movie to be rediscovered. And when we were at the NYU class and we were talking about doing Bigelow and we said like, we're doing Blue Steel right now. Has anyone seen Blue Steel? No one. I was like, it's this great Catherine Bigelow movie, Jamie Lee Curtis. And everyone was like, I didn't know that existed. Yeah. But it does feel like this turning point where you imagine if this movie had connected, and not even if it had been a huge hit, but if it had done maybe 25% better than it did, that this would have sort of cast a die for the next 8 years of Bigelow and Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. This would have been a new phase in Jamie Lee Curtis's career. And I also think it's not coincidental that after this, Catherine Bigelow doesn't really do another female-led movie until Zero Dark 30, which is far less overt. I mean, Shape of Water, kind of, but Shape of Water is such a weird fucking all over the place. Weight of Water, sorry.
Right.
But I think I think there was a perception of like this movie was ghettoized as like, well, people don't like action movies about women, which every 10 years someone would try to make one and it would be discounted. And then they go, well, you can't make, you know, it's Elektra. You can't do this. Right.
And that is unfortunate because I suspect that the lack of success this movie had more to do with its distribution model. The fact that Vestron was bought by something else.
I think you're right. This movie was just doomed. But I also think that Jamie Lee Curtis, she was a weird star. They did struggle to have her open movies.
There is a cool aspect of this film that I really like. And I want to talk to you and to the audience about gender fluidity in this film.
Okay. Shoot.
Because it's a theme, right?
Yes.
I mean, we talked a little bit about the the guns and the penis envy and his schlong and all the mishigas there. And Jamie Lee Curtis does have a masculine face.
Yes.
You know, that's part of her allure.
Right.
Sure. Ron Silver is wearing a lot of makeup in this film.
Does, yes. And he's sort of almost bronze.
The close-up, the big scene where he's like getting all hot and bothered, put your gun on me, baby. You know, that whole, which is not really the actual line, but.
No, but I mean, not far off.
There's reverse shot, and she's looking very masculine, and he's got big, luscious red lips and some eyeshadow.
Yeah. And he wants her to point the gun at him.
Yeah.
And pretend to shoot him because he's like, he can't understand how to use this thing, right? Like sort of, right? That's sort of the idea.
Do you think people got freaked out by that? Is that maybe why it didn't get the reaction back? This is 1990s, a long time ago.
No, for sure. This movie is weird. But again, people might have been going in being like, lady cop, I get it. She's a lady. She's a cop. Lady cop, I get it. And then Ron Silver's in there and he's like, no, you
It's
know,
also
like
a movie
yeah.
about like he's like a super villain where his like origin story is he saw a sexy woman fire a gun once and it broke his mind.
Yes,
You know, like truly, he sees this
Right.
woman
It
walk in,
broke his mind.
this movie star enter a convenience
He
store,
couldn't handle it.
shoot a gun 3 times, and he never is able to like recover.
It's
from
like
that.
a kid who reads his first Wonder Woman comic and can't handle it.
Right. I mean, here's a like a thing that I find interesting about this movie is you look at like 70s, 80s, 90s cop movies, right? That's sort of like this 3-decade period where cop movies are like a really big subgenre before it starts to like wane, right? I would say. And the sort of seedy cop movie, let's say, right?
Right. Sort of the anti-hero cop.
The anti-hero cop movie. And I feel like you have 2 types of cop movies. You have like the cop who's going through some sort of personal life crisis that somehow mirrors the case, which becomes the like obsession,
Sidney
right?
Lumet's Prince in the City.
Exactly. Or even like something like, French Connection, where there's not like an overt life crisis, but he's like a fucking mess of a guy who's just obsessed and committed to this one fucking thing.
right,
And he's like a dirty, sloppy cop,
Yeah.
literally dirty.
But that's
like,
what old cop movies are
Right.
often, where it's like this guy lives in a goddamn shithole. He has a pork pie hat.
Right.
He's just like, hey, you do the crime, you know, like it's
Right.
before the sort of hero cop.
Right. So then
right.
that's the other one is the like super stylized
Sure.
hero cop. This guy can do no wrong,
Right.
even if he's
crime
a little
is
unconventional.
disease, meet the cure. You
Right.
know,
This guy's
et
going to
cetera, et
fucking
cetera.
like
And,
take.
and do you think this is sort of like an in-between? Or?
I think it's doing like a third thing that doesn't exist. It's existing in this weird gray area. And I think the opening scene of this movie, you see the credits, they're very fucking stylized. You have all the like, money shots. It's like, okay, this is just going to be a cop thriller, right? This is just going to be Jamie Lee Curtis placed into some sort of, Pacino cop movie or whatever it is.
Right.
Like a middling kind of like Sea of Love or whatever, right? And then you go to the opening sequence, which plays out exactly how you would expect this movie to play out. Jamie Lee Curtis is going down the hallway. She's got the gun. She kicks through the door.
Yeah.
There's the sort of junkie couple.
Right.
She takes the guy down. She tries talking to the woman. The woman takes out her gun.
Yeah.
And then
it's the Kobayashi Maru scene.
it's the
from Star
Kobayashi
Trek.
Maru. Right. It's the beginning of Monsters, Inc.
Yes.
It's, this was all a test.
It's also, she makes 2 movies in a row that basically start with a training sequence. Because Point Break starts with Keanu
Yes.
Shooting the targets and then
Right.
going.
But this is, we're dealing with the type of scene you expect to see at the beginning of this cop movie.
Yeah.
And then it goes like, no, this is fake. This
Right,
itself
yeah,
is a
yeah,
fiction.
Yeah. Well, especially, that sort of ridiculous, no, it's me or her.
Right.
You can't shoot me. I have a human shield.
Right.
That sort of very movie.
And the way the
premise.
reality breaks is like Curtis going like, fuck.
Yeah, it's such a great
Yeah.
pullback. I
Oh,
would say
God.
it's almost as good as Star Trek 2, the way they pull it
Almost
back.
as good.
But it's a great whoopsie, and
Right.
it's so human.
Because
It's
it almost
really
feels
great.
like you're watching outtakes where she's like, fuck, I missed my line. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no,
It's
right,
like
right,
She
right.
immediately realizes what she's done wrong.
Yeah.
She didn't take the woman seriously as a threat
Yes.
Oh,
in the situation.
You're right. You're right.
I didn't
You're
even
right.
catch that.
Yeah,
I'm a
you're
dunce.
totally right. Of course, she was concentrating on the guy,
Right.
and then it turns out the woman has.
How did I
a gun
miss the
too.
most? That's the movie in Micro, and
Yes.
I've seen, and I'm allegedly a film critic, and I did not catch that.
Well, we're a bunch of dumb idiots. We don't know
That's
what
the
we're
thing I
doing.
love about this movie. Is this movie has a lot of scenes like that, like the Clancy Brown blowjob story scene, where like the whole scene represents the movie in Micro.
Yeah.
Like all the things it's dealing with.
we should point out that Bigelow co-wrote the script.
She did with
Yes.
Eric Red, who she also writes Point Break with.
Right.
Eric the Red.
Eric the Red. He came,
Terry Jones's Eric the Red.
yeah, he came back from conquest in Greenland or whatever in the 8th century.
What
There
else
he
has
is.
Eric Red done? Is he only Bigelow's?
We'll talk about him briefly. No, sorry, it's Near Dark, not Point Break. I
Yeah,
got
sorry,
that wrong.
sorry.
He wrote Near Dark with her. Then he writes this with her. Then he writes, nothing. I mean, very little. He writes scripts, but they're like movies
doing
I've never
something.
heard of.
Does she get another writing credit on one of her films after this?
Let me find out. Well, yeah, because she, Oh no, because she
no,
doesn't.
it's Mark Bowl.
Bull
No,
has
well,
solo
no, I know
credit.
Bull, but I was gonna say, well, she has a writing credit on Strange Days. She doesn't actually, although she did write that movie.
Oh.
Right.
The Weight of Water, no. K-19, no.
I do love
And
that.
yeah, of course, Bull has written the last 3.
I love that this is a New York movie, and there are some New York iconic scenes, but there's a lot of shallow focus of like this
Yeah.
takes place in a very artsy 80s new wave. And, she did her original background, which
She
she
was
was
an
in
art
the New
lady.
York
Yeah.
art
She
scene.
Right.
worked at the Whitney, yeah.
And and then kind of got out of it, but still, this might have been her salute to her youth in a way.
Do you know she used to flip apartments in Soho with Philip Glass?
There was a New Yorker article, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, there was a lot. And she did a lot of those video art. She was an actress. She was what one does in video art installation is called acting.
She was a performer, and she modeled a little bit. I mean, she was existing in all these different spheres of the art world.
Yeah.
But I watched this movie, and this movie feels like a sort of howl of all that she had been through and had to bite her tongue through, of just not being taken seriously in these spaces, having to work twice as hard. And you also go, like, Catherine Bigelow is a very, very good-looking woman, right?
Yeah, great. Yeah, of course.
And this movie, everyone keeps on saying to Jamie Lee Curtis, like, "You're so pretty. Why do you want to be a cop?"
Yeah. Sure, that is a classic refrain.
And they think it's a compliment. They keep on saying to her, like, I don't know how to say this, but like,
I love that scene though, because where does she live? Like City Island? Like where is this that she's supposed to? Her parents are from.
Well, the parents, I don't know. I was thinking more about the scene where she goes to her friend's.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's not her
felt
parents.
like Queens of Staten Island or something.
Like, aren't they like on the water? I couldn't really figure it out. But anyway, yeah. And then the guy's like, "Oh, why do you want to be a cop?"
Yeah,
and
drinking
she's
a lone
saying,
brow.
I like shooting people.
Yeah.
That's such a great scene.
What is it exactly that she says? She says, I like shooting
slamming people's heads against the wall.
That's what she says to him, right? Because it's when she's in the
he asked her why she wanted to become a cop. She said, "I want to shoot people."
That's in the car with her partner, right? And then she's kind of like, "Yeah, from age 4, I wanted to shoot people." And there's like silence for a second, then they laugh, which is a good
right.
Yeah, it's great because you know that she's joking,
right?
But also it's like, shut the hell up, or I'm going to start meaning this.
Exactly.
Eventually, I'm going to give you the real answer.
And she's also sort of putting her cards on the table where she's like, "Yeah, you don't get to just kid around."
Yeah, like F you.
I get to kid around.
You don't ask everybody else. I mean, and then there's the thing with the father. She's,
Well, so Philip Bosco, inventor of Bosco. Yeah. Okay,
I don't want to jump because I think she has that training scene where she fails, but she still passes, right?
Yes.
She joins the force, and then we get a lot of like super awesome, Bigelow. Like here's her in full uniform.
Yes.
Here's her.
And she's taking pictures with Elizabeth Pena.
Right. And this cop uniform looks so fucking good.
Sure.
Like, I was sitting there watching it, just feeling like a fucking slob, because it's like, here's like a movie star in like a perfectly tailored cop uniform that looks so iconic. Yeah. And I just was like, I wish I could find clothes that suited me as well. Do you know what I'm saying, though?
I do.
But this is like an organic point I'm making in relation to the movie. I mean, here's something I thought. I feel like Mack Weldon is better than whatever I'm wearing right now. Like, can I speak honestly here?
I didn't even see this.
I know this is a side tangent. But will you allow me to say this?
Of course I'll allow you to say it. Yes, please. I'm not going to cut you off. I know I like to cut you off, but please talk about Mack Weldon. I ramble
a little bit here, but I got to say this. If I can speak from the heart.
Yes.
Okay, and this might be sloppy. It might be loose.
All right.
Because I'm flying off the handle here.
Okay.
But I mean, we all know that Mack Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. We know that.
Sure.
We know that.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I mean, I think not everyone knows. Maybe it's good to tell people.
I mean, look, I'm not a comfortable person.
No, you are not.
In any sense of the word.
Yeah, you dress like a child, I think, to try and deal with that. Right?
100%.
Right,
but also,
you value comfort
above everything else. Yeah. And it's a daily battle for me, being not comfortable. I wouldn't even say uncomfortable, just perpetually not comfortable.
Sure, yeah, better way of putting it.
I think it's the same as uncomfortable.
But I'm trying to make a distinction.
He wants to make a distinction. He is not comfortable.
I'm not comfortable.
You're comfortable.
I'm comfortable. And I feel like my body naturally wants to go into a fetal position. So anytime I get clothes that make me feel like the weight of the world is briefly off my shoulders.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. You're talking about comfort.
I'm talking about comfort. We know that Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants that you will ever wear.
Sure.
We know that.
Yeah. I think they have like
we know that. Does everyone know that?
That's what I'm saying. You keep saying we. I think people need to hear about that.
Okay. Well, then can I open up a little bit here?
Sure.
I sweat a lot.
Yeah. I mean, New York City, it's been a sweaty summer.
But I got bad sweat glands, okay?
We're all sweaty guys. Right, Jordan?
But I'm really little.
Yeah, right. You're not maybe the same. You don't read as a sweaty guy.
I don't read as a sweaty guy, right? And I'm not very physically active. You're both tall men, you got some size to you.
Yeah, we got some heft.
I'm this little shrimp.
You're a little shrimpy guy.
And I don't move at all.
Sure.
I just sit in air-conditioned movie theaters and still I sweat like John Goodman constantly.
Right.
So, the fact that they have a line of sulfur underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial.
I mean, speak up. I mean, I think you're right. Silver underwear.
Okay, I will speak up. They have a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial.
Yeah.
It's a shield. It's like she gets a shield in Blue Steel.
Yes.
You get a shield.
You get a shield. It eliminates odor. That's the thing. What?
But
Imagine.
where are we gonna? I mean, this is all so great, but where? Where are we gonna get this stuff?
You gotta go to MacWeldon.com. Are you kidding me?
And is there maybe like a discount or something?
Well, here's the thing. I love Mack Weldon. The only thing that could make Mack Weldon any better is if I was only paying 80% of what they're actually charging.
If you might say getting 20% off.
I like to pay a full 80%.
Jesus.
But that's where it ends for me.
Uh-huh.
It's not 20% off. It's 80% on.
Now, sometimes you go to these websites and there's a promo code box there and you don't have a promo code and you feel like an idiot.
Uh-huh.
And you go, God, I guess I got to leave it blank. Well, this time you should leave it blank
Hey.
Right.
by typing in the word blank.
Yeah. You want 20% off.
A-N-K. They want you to be comfortable. I've talked to them. I've been talking to Mack Weldon a lot.
Yeah, they're sponsoring our show.
They've been
very
sliding into
exciting.
my DMs. I've been sliding into theirs. I've been
Sure.
sliding like gift field, okay? And do you know what they told me? I don't even know if I should be saying this on the air. Do you know what they told me?
Go ahead.
In confidence, they told me that if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it, and they will still refund you, no questions asked.
I actually think that's public information that they want known.
I don't know about that. They might get angry.
I might have to cut that out. I might have to cut that out.
Well, all I know is 20% off Mack Weldon. Go,
Promo
you
code
put in
blank.
promo code blank. That's what you want. Go to MacWeldon.com.
And not only does their underwear,
Promo
socks, and
code
shirts
blank.
look good, they perform well, too. They're good actors.
I'm sort of struggling to wrap my
Mac and
tongue
Weldon.
around it.
Yeah. You can put this
Promo
clothing on a
code
stage, will perform
blank. You've
well.
used it, right, Jordan?
Promo code blank. I have worn their underwear.
I think
And
this
look,
is like...
it's a strange thing podcasts make us do. Talk about our underwear.
Well, usually you only have to talk about it for 60 seconds.
Sure.
So
Well,
I don't know.
we're done.
Griffin's
We're done.
kind of going
We're done.
bananas here.
Okay, Ben's telling me to stretch it out.
Griffin's stretching it.
And you know about the microbial shields?
I do
Silver
not.
underwear.
I put them on. I blasted a fart. My wife didn't know a thing.
Hey, that's the greatest endorsement I
I
could ever hear.
blasted it.
That's all I want.
Pretty good endorsement.
Hydrogen, an H-bomb in her direction. Normally, that's a get out the
Sure.
what are these things called? The rolling pin.
Okay.
What the hell is he doing?
No, you know when
He's shaking a rolling
I'm
pin.
making a joke about wives
Oh,
yelling at
I
their
see.
husbands.
Like you're the old battle axe.
Yeah. Normally, if I do, because you treat you ladies nice.
this is a great episode for you to bring up that kind of metaphor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now,
Very good.
Let me just say this. I want to settle a
Goes
rumor.
down easy. Oh, drinking it, baby.
Settle the rumor.
I want to
Griffin.
settle one rumor right here and right now.
Yeah.
Silver underwear. Okay? Now, we're talking about Blue Steel here. People might go, ooh, Ron Silver underwear?
Sure.
He is not
R.I.P.
such a great guy in this movie. No good, very bad, don't do it.
No,
right?
No.
No. Think of this underwear as your Jamie Lee Curtis, and think of those odors like Ron Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep it away.
Yeah.
It's like
Smell good.
Yeah.
And it looks good. It looks good for working out. It looks good for going to work, going on dates, everyday life, whatever you want.
Enough.
No. Let's do more.
Look, maybe you're like me. Maybe you want as many layers of clothing on
All right, Griffin.
at all times.
I'm
You
cutting
don't
you
want
off.
anyone to ever see your body.
Sure.
But just for yourself, at the end of the night when you're changing, you want to look down and see some Mack Weldon. That's all I'm going to tell you.
The
Promo code
problem
blank.
is
I
with
love
the-
how we even went long there. Ben's annoyed with us on that.
I just can't even. I don't know.
Same with Blue Steel.
You know which precinct she belongs to?
Which one?
It's on her collar, the 22nd precinct, which is the fake precinct.
The 2-2.
Because that was renamed the Central Park precinct a little long ago, so it no longer exists.
I know.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
wanted to bring us back in with that.
So she quickly gets put into the job, right? You see her at her graduation.
How soon? Because you saw it for the first time last night.
Yeah.
How soon did you know that Elizabeth Pena was going to get killed?
I was really hoping she wouldn't.
But like the minute, like the first scene, it's
a
like
character like that, you're like, what's the
Yeah.
purpose
What's the
of this
function?
character?
right. But she's
yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm so happy you're like a sister to me." It's
Yeah, like,
she's
they're not
gone.
even related. They're just friends.
like
Good
she's gone.
friends.
She's gone.
She comes to the graduation.
Right.
I've been to those graduations. Lots of family and friends come to them
Uh-huh.
at One Police Plaza. But it's this is her family.
Sure.
That this is her family is a little surprising.
But the two of them are so great together.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Pena,
Another deceased person,
late great
right?
Elizabeth Pena.
Recently
We have a couple
died.
deaths.
Yeah, because Ron Silver died. Elizabeth
Yeah.
Pena died.
Wait, when did Ron Silver die?
He died like 2
Ron
years
Silver
ago.
died a little while ago. No, longer than that.
Really?
I think 2009.
Wow.
Because, the funny thing about Ron Silver was how he turned into this arch conservative.
He was like the James Woods of his.
But he wasn't. He was like a classic Hollywood liberal. And then in the Bush era, he turns into this arch conservative who was like very pro-war, and very like pro-Giuliani.
He sort of became Ron Silver's character in Blue Steel.
Well, and that's the thing. Well, yeah, but in the West Wing, in the first, and like maybe the second season, he plays like a Democratic campaign consultant, and they brought him back for the 7th season to play a Republican campaign consultant, which I enjoyed. I liked that
cool.
they
Nice.
and his character within the West Wing's like, yeah, no, I kind of changed my mind.
But
on
he
a lot of
wasn't
stuff.
like James Wood is right now is like a maniac, right? I mean, he's like
I don't
Trump
even want to
level.
talk about that guy. He sues people. He freaks me out. I love him though. Such a good actor.
He's great, but
Yeah, he's great. You should use promo
He's
code.
very,
Blue.
very, very
is Woods? Let's just say, is Woods the most outspoken Hollywood?
Yeah.
Well, there's like
conservative?
Scott Baio or whatever.
He doesn't count.
Like
He's
there
a-
are these people
Well,
who are a
Woods
little
is
more
like
fringy.
a firebrand.
Voight,
Sure.
John Voight, right?
John Voight.
But
yeah.
but Voight, I think, is more like a McCain level conservative.
Yes,
right?
he's always been a conservative. I think
Is Woods the only? Was Woods and Scott Baio, which is
no,
embarrassing?
there's
Are they the only-
others though, because there's
Woods
all those
kinda
guys that'll
yelling
like
the
go on
loudest,
Fox News
though.
and be like,
Yeah.
I think Donald Trump's great or
But
whatever.
Who else?
Well, Kid Rock. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody. Like I think Woods is the only one who of any merit.
Antonio Sabato Jr., right?
That's right. Yeah, he was another one.
Stephen Baldwin, Gary Busey,
Right.
preview
All right.
for our Point Break.
Yeah,
but
all
yeah,
right.
it's mostly these sort of fringy celebrities like
Which-
that.
yeah, like-
who haven't really been a big deal in 10
To
years.
endorse, like,
Which is sort of true of James Woods too, sadly.
Yes.
Although I still always enjoy seeing him on screen.
was Woods radicalized by playing Rudy Giuliani in that TV movie?
He loved Rudy Giuliani, though. That's why he played him. He
also-
demanded that
So
role.
Woods has always been an asshole. Like there have been
Woods has always been a really strong personality, I
Right.
think.
And
But
there-
he's played ultra liberals before. What was
Yes.
the one? True Believer? What was?
Yeah, and he played Roy Cohn and in Citizen Cohn,
Right,
which
right.
is not a positive movie.
Yeah.
right, but there's
Yeah.
Mississippi Burning where he
Where
plays like
no, it's Ghosts of Mississippi.
always
Oh,
get
right.
those two confused.
Right,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there he is. There is Gary Busey. No, Mississippi Burning. He plays the guy. It's
Right.
essentially. I mean, I think
He's the villain of the movie, but he's also like
he's this racist who's later
Right.
being like dragged in front of court many years
Right.
later for
Ghosts
this
of
bombing.
Mississippi.
Ghosts
Yeah.
of Mississippi. I keep. You messed me
I'm
up.
sorry.
Yeah.
And then now he's turned. I don't know. James Woods is freaky.
I think he always was
Byron Gillen Beckwith. That's who he plays. Yeah.
was difficult.
Yeah.
And I think he is antagonistic in a way that maybe some of those other people aren't. Like Stephen Baldwin's very loud about his support of Trump, but he's also not like starting fights with people.
Mm.
He's just kind of like speaking, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess when you're Woods, I mean, he's he's not young, and he's probably got a good amount of money, and
Sure.
he
Yeah.
feels invincible. And what does he care?
There
Yeah, for
was
sure.
the last
He does like to sue
big
people, though. So
Woods role I remember was White House Down, where
he's great in that.
but he also plays like
plays
modern
the-
day James Woods. He plays the like the presidency's being corrupted. We have to take it back.
Right, but he also, he is willingly playing the villain.
Right. That's what's weird is like you realize maybe James Woods was playing his own philosophies
Maybe but
very
he-
often in
he-
films, but always framed as
He
the
knows.
villain. in the
You're
film.
right.
He
That's
didn't
the
know.
last movie he made.
Yeah.
Well, every actor says that they never
Basically.
think of themselves as a villain, right?
Right.
That's
He
what every.
truly, I mean, that's probably
Yeah.
why he became such a good movie villain because he was always like, I mean, but this guy's the hero of the movie.
God,
right?
I forgot they remade Straw Dogs. That Rod
Yeah.
Lurie remade.
Yeah, I never
Straw
saw
Dogs.
it. I never
Me
saw
with,
it.
neither.
with James Marsden, our generation's Dustin Hoffman.
I mean, no disrespect
Who is
to James
the-
I
Marsden.
love James Marsden. I
Alexander
think he's a phenomenal
Skarsgård
actor.
is
That's the wrong
villain.
person to play that role.
Who's the who
Kate
plays
Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth. It's anyway. James
Which
Woods
one
is in that
Bosworth?
movie.
I think of Beckinsale when you say Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth's the one who's in Superman Returns.
I can't picture her.
She's Lois
Blue
Lane in that
Crush.
movie.
I picture Kate Beckinsale.
She has
She's-
two differently colored eyes.
She's a little bit of an anonymous
Yeah.
actress, I guess. She never really hit. She was in Beyond the Sea.
She was the previous Alicia Vikander to me.
yeah,
now
you're
I
really disrespecting Alicia
Yeah.
I
Vikander.
can't. I
You
can't.
talk about Academy Award winner.
I can't
Alicia
picture her.
Vikander?
I don't know what she looks like.
Do you know?
She's vapor. She's air to
very
me.
slender and sort of, she's
Yeah.
got more.
But this,
of a,
and I'd like to bring this up actually because
Sort of
I
that
had
they
an interesting
just,
conversation. Everybody has their own whatever this is. There are certain actors that you just
that you're
can't remember.
face blind about. Or
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
face blind about Alicia Vikander. I've seen
That's
her in
fine.
10 movies. I don't know what she looks like.
I love that apparently Laura Croft can only be played by people who just won an Oscar.
Lara Croft. Yes, you're right. You're right. It's true.
Right? Because that was like Jolie's almost immediate follow up to winning the Oscar.
Yeah.
And, right.
There aren't a lot
She wins
of
in 2000.
brand
Yeah.
name female franchise heroes.
Right.
And like I think with Vikander, they were probably like, well, let's see what we can put you in. Like, let's see what we can build around you. And it's like,
We know this
what's
works.
going? Like, I guess, how about a Lara Croft reboot, you know? And they're doing the reboot that's like the video game reboot, where it's like more of just like she's a gritty action adventurer who has a pickaxe and can climb a cliff.
I saw that trailer, first half of the trailer, I was so on board because it was so puzzle focused. Like the first half of that trailer has her working like 12 different puzzles.
Yeah, she likes puzzles.
And then once she starts jumping off cliffs, I didn't give a shit anymore.
All right, guys, let's talk about Blue Steel because we're...
Are there puzzles in Blue Steel? You know what there is not in Blue Steel? You don't never know what's going to happen next.
Okay.
The only thing you don't know about is Richard Jenkins getting him. Well, you think she's got him.
Right.
She's got him, and then old Ricky Jenks comes in.
That's what I love,
changes the
okay?
movie.
A more conventional movie would have gone, hey, the conflict of the movie is she's dating the guy she's
that
trying
would
to
be the
hunt down.
whole movie.
Right,
Instead,
they cut that off,
halfway through the movie, right, so she's a cop, she shoots Tom Sizemore, Ron Silver takes the gun, he starts shooting people, right?
Right, but let's say like...
And he's also carving her name into the
In the
bullets.
rain.
The other couple things that are set up is, okay, Elizabeth Pena's her best friend.
Uh-huh.
You fear that Elizabeth Pena is going to be a victim in this movie, but you also go like, God, it's so rare to just see two women be friends in a movie. And
Does
have,
this movie
like,
pass the Bechdel test?
100%.
Yeah.
Does
because
it?
they
Andrew
just have
probably does,
fucking
right?
casual conversations,
Sure,
right?
Yes, yeah. Men are not really discussed in
at all.
Yeah.
There's one, but there is the one.
She's trying to introduce him to guys, but
but it's cool.
But okay, so you get that she's seemingly career, focused. She's wanted to be a cop forever. Everyone's ragging on her for not having a boyfriend. She doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
You see her home life. Her dad resents the fact that she's a cop. I can't believe my fucking daughter's a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that dad sucks.
And his
Philip
parents,
Boston.
right? Her parents are caught in this abusive
Louise Fletcher's his
relationship.
mother, right? Yes, yes.
Right. Louise Fletcher is clearly very supportive, but very kind of broken and under the thumb of this gross, fucking abusive dad.
Yeah. Right.
And she sits uneasily with her father, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And she's just, now I finally get to be a cop. I've earned it. I get to kill it. And she goes in the office and no one takes her seriously.
And she shoots a guy committing a robbery, and everyone's like,
I just want to set that up as the background.
I get it. I get it.
Right. Then you have
And
this
Silver
moment.
How did
steals-
Ron Silver get out of that supermarket?
I know, he just vanishes. I don't know.
He's a
Again,
supernatural
there,
character.
there is somewhat
Right.
supernatural.
But I
about
also
him.
love, like, stylistically, as we said, there's a lot of shallow focus. There's a lot of fog. There's a lot of bright colors.
Beautiful movie.
She's across the street getting coffee or whatever. When she sees the robbery happen and she goes into the convenience store, immediately very deep focus.
Yeah.
She's very connected to her surroundings. As she's rounding this corner, you see him in the background of the shop while she's in the foreground.
He's also the slowest hold-up man ever.
because he's like,
Yeah, he's
come
like,
on.
come on, I'm not
Come
ordering
on."
takeout here. Like, he's got like 3 lines,
he's doing a monologue in his acting class. Like,
Yeah,
he's really
exactly.
trying to milk it to get his like $100 worth.
For
Right.
sure.
Right. He wants a lot of stuff for them to be able to note. But then she has this heroic hero moment. It feels like this is the moment that would make another cop.
Yeah.
But the gun gets away. I love these fucking shots of Ron Silver just sort of like idolizing the gun. And then when it lands there,
So
like
beautiful.
fetishizing it. Ron Silver does some amazing eyeball acting in this movie.
Yeah.
I love Ron Silver. I'm just
Yes.
to be clear, he's the best.
He's great.
I
would love to see this in a theater because it looked good on my TV.
yeah,
and I didn't
he
even-
looked pretty great on my TV
I
too.
would
Yeah.
say, what did you watch it on?
I watched it on Amazon Prime Video. Great
Did
company.
So did I,
Great
yeah.
service.
You know
rented
what I
it
did?
on Amazon.
I decided to try be a miser and try something new. I watched this on Tubi TV.
Which I heard it's streaming
this
on.
Tubi
What is this
TV?
Tubi
Well,
TV? It has ads, right?
Yeah, Tubi TV is no good. I
Okay,
mean, here's the
all
thing.
right,
I
okay.
saw probably the same transfer that you saw,
Yeah.
but every 5 minutes there was ads.
Oh, that's
Sure.
that.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
can't deal with
handle
that.
that.
It had no
But it's a
editing.
real thing.
Yeah.
It's not like some fake
Right.
company.
It's
Well, I use a
It
Roku,
had-
so I went to
Yeah.
Roku, and I feel bad. I have a friend that works at Tubi TV. I hope she's not listening.
Oh, I'm
but I
sorry.
went to I went to my Roku and I typed in Blue Steel, and I said I could pay $3.99 for Amazon.
Sure. Give
Or I
money
could-
to a great company.
I could
It's
try
never
my
done
little
anything
Tubi
bad.
TV action, and we tried it, and it did feel. I was watching with my wife, who had seen it before also, but it was there's a lot of bathroom breaks. It was
Makes it
it
feel
was
a little TNT.
it was like watching a movie on television in the old
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
You know, I
Jordan,
went to the bathroom.
Did
Yeah.
you get also like local commercials in your screening?
Wait, did you get yours?
I got a
You watched it on-
main furniture company, like where it was like insane.
You watched it on Tubi
like,
TV?
come on down to
Yeah.
Banger.
I
Like,
didn't.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
we're
a
on Route
local-
8.
It was like a local commercial.
No,
Yeah.
I did not. I got there were like the same 10 recycle like every it was, so I got to see a lot of them, and I turned the volume down. But it was not local stuff. It was like I don't know,
Yeah,
Chevrolet or whatever.
Yeah.
It was normal ads, but that's funny. So until the day that I'm really broke, which could be next week, I don't see myself using Tubi TV that much
Sure.
if I have a $4 option on Amazon.
You gotta go
But-
to Amazon. You
I
got
like
it.
it. It looked good on Amazon.
Yeah, but particularly the shot of Silver and the eyeball acting is when I noticed, I'm like, this movie is gorgeous because like the floor is like beige and the lighting is so weird and his face just looks so great. And
She
I would love
makes
to see
these
this
really
in the
beautiful,
theater.
really
Yeah.
unsettling images. Well, yeah, so you expect like the kind of hero's welcome, and she comes back, and they're immediately like, he said, she said, well, where's the gun? This and that. Like everyone's just giving her the fucking business and the
Clancy
runaround.
Brown with the comb.
Right.
Clancy and the ridiculous hair.
Yeah. The great Kevin Dunn just
Yeah, he's the pencil pusher who's like, hey, listen, you didn't follow regulations.
one of our most frustrated actors.
I love Kevin Dunn.
I love Kevin
I
Dunn.
think he's the best. It's so weird how Woody Allen has put him in like 6 movies to play the same role, which is the guy who lets you into the country home that you're going to be staying at. And he's like, anyway, I'm going on vacation. I'll see you later. And he's wearing like a silk shirt.
Well, the thing I like most about the first Transformers, I think one of the reasons why I defend the first Transformers so thoroughly is
him and Judy White.
right, but
Yeah.
it's so Small Soldiers-y, where he plays the exact same role in Small Soldiers, where it's like his son who's kind of a fuck up, and then he's got these weird robots that keep on following him around, and he's just trying to like, what, son, what are you doing?
And why is he peeing on the lawn?
Right.
Why is he peeing on the lawn?
Is it Optimus Prime who pees or Bumblebee?
I think it's
it's
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee who
I
pees.
haven't
I think
seen
he
that movie in a long time.
bumblebees.
Amir Mokri, who shot this movie,
Bumblebee.
Okay.
shot Transformers 3 and 4.
Okay.
And I think Transformers 3 is a great looking movie.
It's a great looking movie.
He has
certainly.
become a big blockbuster
3D
DP
sort of,
because he did Fast and Furious, he did Man of Steel, he did Pixels. What else we got?
Pixel.
Bad Boys 2. He's like, but he
Yeah.
started out as Wayne Wang's
Pixels
DP.
has
Interesting.
Pixels has pee in it also. Kubert pees in Pixels.
Oh, great.
Pixels is a great movie about a failing president who like really struggles to confront an alien invasion. My favorite thing about Pixels, I turned it on and me and my brother were watching it being like, this movie's gonna suck, right?
Yeah.
And immediately it's like Kevin James is at the podium and he's sweating, and it was like a month into the Trump administration, and we were like, this feels very relatable for some reason.
I just want a reboot of Pixels from Kubert's point of view.
Sure.
Like, just make the movie all about Kubert.
No, I've-
Kubert's in Wreck-It Ralph too. They did a lot of Kubert jokes out there these days.
Kubert's been booking recently.
Yeah,
he
Kubert's
switched
doing great.
agencies.
Yeah,
they got him
yeah.
in the Midnight Raid.
A lot of like Kubertese jokes. Yeah.
Can you confirm something for me?
Yeah.
I heard that in the movie, Kubert at one point transforms into Ashley Benson from
Yeah.
Spring Breakers, and then Josh Gad has sex with Kubert.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So it's
And then they have children.
and they're
That's
Kubert
like
babies.
the postscript. They're like half Josh Gad, half
They're like
Kubert.
Arbert. They're not all the way to Kubert.
because they have sexual intercourse when she looks like Ashley Benson. He's not fucking the Kubert tube, right?
I mean, it's not explicit. Who knows? He might be fucking the Kubert too. I don't know.
That
Anyway,
tube knows.
yeah.
That'll knock you right off the pyramid there. let me
Oh
tell
boy.
you.
Okay, so Blue Steel.
So
They immediately like dock her, and they're just like,
right. Yeah.
You're-
We talked about
right,
that.
you're
But
an
what I want
emotional
to talk
woman.
about
You
is
can't control yourself.
then Ron Silver's fascinated with her, so he approaches her. He does this whole flim flam with like, get in my cab. We'll share a
Pretends
cab.
He
It's
waits
raining.
by the he waits by the station house to put her in a
But I
cab.
also
Yeah.
I love at this point we've gotten the first of the sequences of Ron Silver on the trading floor where he's caught in these sort of big wide shots,
Sell!
right? Telephoto, like
Yeah.
zooming out,
I'll buy that soy.
and this
Yeah.
guy's just so
32.
fucking impotent. Like he looks so stressed out,
Yeah.
and he's desperate to get people's attention. But now he goes home and he just strokes this gun, and he
Strokes
feels
this
like
gun.
a person for the first time.
And
You know?
he starts laying it on with Jamie Lee Curtis, taking her on dates, fancy dinners,
Right.
like saying how great
And
she
he's
is.
so charming.
Well, yeah,
charming.
he's good at that dinner, and the and he's funny in the cab. He says that
Yes.
he has a
yeah,
fun,
he's very
couple of
charming in
funny
the cab.
jokes.
Yeah.
Right.
But the implication is that he's not 100% committed to kill until it's thrust upon him. I mean, he does carve her name in the bullet casing.
He carves her name in the bullet
Then he
cases.
goes for a walk in the rain.
In
and
the
he
rain.
trips. And a very nice guy, kind of looked like M. Emmett Walsh. It wasn't M. Emmett Walsh,
Sure,
but
a nice middle-aged man.
It was like L.
In a
Emmett Walsh.
raincoat.
It
Yeah,
shows
yeah,
up. It's the second time I did the same joke.
Hubert Emmett
Hey,
Walsh.
look, I can't wait for the third time.
So L. Emmett Walsh is like, "Hey, buddy, all right?" Like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!" You
and
fell
the
in
gun
the rain.
has like spilled out of his hands or
Right.
whatever of his
Seized the
jacket.
gun.
It's on the floor there.
And they make eye contact, and he's like, "Buddy, what are you doing?" And that
And he
scene
picks
is
up the gun
dragged
super
out.
slowly.
And that
the guy's like,
scene-
"Hey, wait a second. Hey, continue to stop raising that gun."
But it's almost like the gun in this movie is like the one ring. Like once he has it in his possession,
But
it
he's
just
kind of like looking at it and looking at you and
Yeah.
looking at it
and
and
he
looking at you.
becomes so obsessed with the power of
Absolutely,
it. Yeah.
and that's what that opening credits scene is about. It's
Right.
fetishizing the gun, and
He's got a big
and-
metal dick now, and he
Yeah.
can kill people with his cum bullets.
So he
my
shoots
God.
that. All right, Griffin. All right. He shoots that guy. But no, but I'm trying to remember. Is there much of the dating before he then asks her? Because our original point, like
yes.
20 minutes ago, was halfway through the movie.
50 minutes in. Yes.
He's like, "Why don't you take the gun and role play shooting?"
He wants
Right.
to get pegged.
right.
And then she
Yes.
figures out this is the guy.
So
who's
the
been
first
carving
date,
names into my
he
bullets.
walks her back to her place, and she goes like, "Do you want to come inside?" And he's like, "No, I'll save that for later." And you're like, "Ooh, what's
Yeah,
his
he's catch and
play
release,
here?" Like
sure,
he's showing
sure.
restraint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then she goes back to work. I believe there's another killing, and they're like, "You seriously? You got no fucking read on this?"
Right. The cops don't understand why the bullet casings have her name on it. And
Yeah,
they're-
I think one
what
of
is
them
her
actually makes a
character's
joke
name?
like her name is Megan Turner.
Megan Turner,
Yeah.
and the only other Megan Turner in New
Is
York.
like an
87
88-year-old lady,
right.
whatever.
and there's
whatever.
a great line like, unless he's into oxygen, unless he's got an oxygen tank fetish, he's into you.
Right. And
Right,
they have one line of thinking, which is like, no angry ex-boyfriends. Like they just keep
Right.
on assuming there's some guy you dumped.
It's her fault.
Right.
They think
It
it's
has
somehow
to be her fault.
Yeah. Literally blaming the victim.
And I think we've already had the scene at this point where she goes to Elizabeth Pena's cookout, her backyard cookout.
Yeah, and as we dunks on that guy.
right,
who's
this
sort of-
fuck boy
Yeah.
who just goes, "You're so pretty, why do you have to be a cop?"
Right.
And she just like, yeah, he's well-intentioned enough. She does, I mean, she dunks on him, but then sort of pats him on the head
But
and goes, like, "You're okay, nice work, kid."
Like you say, this is easily could have been a movie about she is a cop and she's in a relationship with a guy who's a serial killer and she doesn't know it. And right at the end, it all comes to a head and she
Right. In
realizes.
fact, that's what
Right.
you think it's going to be. You think this is going to drag out until the very
It's a
last
cat and
scene
mouse
when
game.
she goes,
Right.
"Oh my God, you're the killer."
Yes, it was you. And
You-
instead,
yes, you also-
halfway through,
yes.
she's like, "No, it's you." Goes to the cops, and the cops are like, "What? He was creepy? Like,
Yeah.
this
Well, no,
isn't
the
enough."
But the cops do have her back. Clancy Brown has
Clancy
her back.
Brown has her back.
Not everyone has her
Jinx.
back, but Clancy Brown's like, all right. I can
and then
buy
the
this.
chief is sort of has her back.
Yeah, kind of. But no, they're not. Certainly, they can't arrest him.
But the
No.
chief's kind of distracted because his son keeps on playing with robots. But I think there's the element of the second date she goes on is when they're like really hitting it off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And she's finally
They're
allowing
making
herself.
out.
Right, and this is like the kind of guy she wants to be with. Like the whole movie, she's been like pushing away these fuckboys,
Right.
and it's like, okay, this is like a
He's a
grown up.
professional.
He's
I mean,
a
Professional.
she's
He's
trying
not
to-
like an outer borough guy.
She's in Manhattan now.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
got the big city bright lights, and she meets a guy with prospects who
And-
lives in a very nice
And
apartment.
the second date's the helicopter, I think, right? And
yeah, that's
and
right.
she
He's Superman.
does right.
It's the Superman.
It's
Lois
the
Lane
Superman
scene.
thing, and there are
Yeah.
those amazing, like the
Really?
helicopter photography going around, like the
It's like
Statue of
Tron.
Liberty.
Yeah.
It goes on for a while. It sounds like Tron. She's got this really cool, like it's very similar to the Tangerine Dream score in
Yeah.
Near Dark. But she does this thing. I love
It's
it when
Brad
filmmakers
Fiedel,
do.
the James Cameron collaborator.
Okay.
Did the music. Yeah,
Music in this is great.
you know the. Dun-dun-dun,
Yeah.
dun-dun. That's
And
what he did on the.
She does this thing that I love, which I think like helps aid the dream state of this movie when it starts to get to this like fever dream kind of state. This is when I think it starts slipping into this, where she uses like one kind of repetitive, like looping track that carries over through a couple of scenes unchanged.
music wise.
Yes, so you have a few scenes that are playing out in full that then have this quality of feeling like a montage because the same basic musical cue is playing throughout their dinner date to then when they're in the helicopter, the photography, them in the helicopter, him walking her back to her house, them starting to make out. And you're like, okay, here, this is like, finally, she gets to have some fun in her life.
Yeah.
And then he starts getting weird about the gun.
Yeah.
He starts getting really weird about the gun very quickly. And at first, she's kind of like, okay, I'll engage with this. But then,
Yeah, at first the gun scene, like
Right.
at first she's like, "No, I'm not going to pull my gun." But then he's like, "Come on, baby," and she's like, "Well,
Fine,
who
if
am
this
I
is
to
your
ju-"
thing,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
moment of like, "You want me to do that?"
I'm not
Well,
going to kink
Yes,
shame.
yeah. She's kind of like, "All right." I mean, it's probably like guys have asked me to do weirder things.
Right.
I mean, all right, I'll think about it. But then
Then
it
it
goes
clicks
too
for
far.
her. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I see. And
Then he starts talking about God and Revelation. And
Yeah,
stuff.
Right,
well,
the
you know,
brightness.
he's
You've seen the brightness.
He's
Yeah.
having time.
Have we already seen him have the workout
Yeah.
breakdown at this point?
But he has like 3.
right.
Yeah, he's also
three
there's one scene
scenes-
where he's clutching his sheets, going,
Yeah.
the demons in my
Right.
head.
It
Yeah.
looks like he's in withdrawal. Like he's like
it's
sweating.
hysterical. Those scenes where you're just like, we'd buy that he was going crazy.
Yeah.
We don't need
I
him to
love
be.
it. I
I
love
like it too because it's just
It gets
that's
operatic.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I just think
let's talk about like who else. Like casting Ron Silver is a choice. The man is
yes.
The man has a distinctive look.
He does.
Jew. He's a big Jew. I can say this.
He's a honking Jew.
But
And-
right, we're talking as a couple Jewish men here,
Yeah.
but he's also.
I mean, this is a man who has recorded 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 Philip Roth audiobooks.
sure
Is he really?
that makes
American
so
Pastoral,
much
Plot
sense.
Against America, I Married a Communist, Portnoy's Complaint.
Those are
But
all
he's
very
also,
good.
He's
But-
also a very specific brand of like too slick Jew.
Yeah,
he's a
but-
kind of yuppie Jew that is very indicative of this time period.
Yeah, and also
Sure.
like there's no explicit Jewish content in this film
No.
anywhere.
Right.
But like anybody who knows New York knows who this guy is.
100%.
And most reasonable people. But you know, you cast I mean, those shots of him looking at himself in the mirror with his
Yeah.
big schnoz and
Yeah.
there in the center of the frame. I mean, it's not, you know, it's the real deal.
No, yeah, for sure. But this is I mean, I think of him as the villain in Time Cop, right? I mean, this is the
Yeah.
sort of beginning of, he's a great
Yeah.
slime ball. He's
Well, 'cause-
right. He's
Played
a,
Alan
yeah.
Dershowitz, for God's sake.
Yeah.
he did.
Another
But you
great
get to
slime.
like this is
Good
like
movie.
he's in the slime ball.
I like that movie. You don't like that movie?
It's all right. It's all right. That's pretty good. It's
He's
pretty
in this. Ron Silver wears a really nice suit with no tie and like quietly menaces the lead character phase of his career. Which by the time you get to 1999, Heat Vision and Jack, which was like the great unproduced
He's so wonderful. in
pilot
that. The Dan Harmon
that Dan Harmon and
pilot.
Rob Schraub wrote and Ben Stiller directed with Jack Black and Owen Wilson. He plays the villain, and the villain is Ron Silver. It's Ron Silver playing actor Ron Silver,
Right. Okay.
who is the crime boss that is terrorizing this talking motorcycle and an astronaut. So by like the end of this decade, it became like it got to the point of self-parody. With,
Right.
like,
And
who Ron
was
Silver
this the first one, basically?
I think this was kind of like the beginning of that real tilt into like Ron Silver.
Do you want me to
Slick
take
Creek.
a look at
Wait, wasn't he in a Jean-Claude Van Damme?
that Time Cop? That's what I'm
Time
saying.
Cop.
He's
Wait,
the
no,
villain in
But
Time
was that
Cop.
after this?
Yeah, that's after this.
Okay.
That's 94.
He wasn't. Of course, he's.
Yeah, because he's in. Well, let me think. I mean, he's in Silkwood. He's in Enemies: A Love Story. He's in.
well, that's a real movie. That's not.
Yeah.
Well, those are real movies, you know. But yeah, no, I think he's still pretty. And then yeah, he's Dershowitz in Reversal of Fortune, which is the next year, or it's actually the same year because this movie actually came out in 1990.
Mhm.
Klaus von Bülow once called me on the phone. The real Klaus von Bülow was very funny.
Really?
Yes, my mother was doing a story on him
Yeah.
later in life. I can't remember why.
Oh my
and I picked
God.
up the phone at home and I was like, hello. And he was like, this is Klaus von Bülow. Is your mother home? And I talked to
Wow.
Klaus von Bülow for a second.
So he was Dracula. He was doing a Dracula impression.
Really
that
sounded
day.
like Dracula.
Yeah.
He's in Mr. Saturday Night. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Dude,
The,
that is a flawed motion picture.
It's a very flawed movie.
That's like a really interesting flawed
He's.
movie.
Yeah.
I forgot. He's in Ali. He plays
Bombadil?
Angelo Dundee,
Dundee,
who is
right.
like his like trainer.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali's
Yeah.
trainer. But I feel like he becomes like a TV guy. Like
Yeah.
he never quite. He's always just like he's around. He's Ron
He
Silver.
also was like watching this movie in particular.
He
I
was in
like,
Fahrenheit 9/11,
Okay,
the
What-
documentary about how much Michael Moore's bad.
watching this movie.
Jordan just made a great face.
Fair, unhyped.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Oh, fair and hype. It's a fake
Okay.
word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watching this movie, I was like, Ron Silver was a great actor. You know, dubious politics aside, perhaps he would have gone on to give us several more great performances. You know, if he had continued living. But you watch this movie and you're like, man, Ron Silver was like really created to be in the pocket for like an 8-year span of time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Like there were
yeah.
8 years where culturally Ron Silver represented something
The
that
water
was
level and he met
Right,
perfectly.
right,
And
perfectly.
and then they moved on.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
great on The West Wing. I want to. You guys clearly are not.
That's
West
what I'm
Wing.
Oh, no, I
saying.
like the West
I'm
Wing.
saying
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
great
yeah.
actor, and he did great work up until the end, and he would have continued to do great work. You
Yeah.
know, but there was like a point in this where you're just like, geez, it's like they created Ron Silver in a lab so he could have played this role.
I agree with you, but I know what Jordan's saying, that he's not an American Psycho looking guy, right?
At
He's
all.
not like this sort of Teutonic
Yeah.
or like waspy, like Wall Street bro with the slick back
Which I think is
hair.
the only reason that he's
and
able
the
to successfully
suspenders.
seduce Jamie Lee Curtis. You presume
Sure.
she wouldn't go for a guy like that. There's
Right.
something kind of earthy.
He's a little,
about him.
yes,
He's
yuppified.
ethnic, if I may use that.
Right,
Hey, I
there-
mean, you
right,
know.
right. He's a street level guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember the line when they're in the cab. He makes a pretty damn good joke.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, But
And he has that moment where Bigelow goes to like extreme close-ups when they're at the restaurant, and he says this whole thing about like, I can't believe I did this. I never do stuff like this. You know, it's just amazing. I'm sitting here with you right now.
And he also shows regret for being a commodities trader, which seems legit.
That scene. He's
Well, I
like,
mean, we know he's unsatisfied.
right.
He wouldn't go around killing
He
people.
wouldn't go around
otherwise.
shooting people in the rain.
But he's like disarmingly introspective and vulnerable in that scene, which I think is the key, is that he's not just like laying on the charm, but it feels like he's being very honest with her, which really kind of engages her.
And his apartment is not like modern.
No.
It looks like an
right.
old palace. It looks like a museum almost. He like doesn't have a lot of slick modern late 80s, early 90s gewgaws. He's got like
Gewgaws is such a good word.
He's got like kind of like, first of all, like the lobby looks like a museum, and then like once you get into his place, it's got like, you know, thick mahogany chairs and secret library rooms and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of an odd thing for, you know, a bachelor commodities trader in 1990.
But then once you get to this 50-minute mark, when the gun thing goes a little too far and he starts talking about the brightness, she realizes what is going on. And she, you know, calls the cops for backup. They come in. They're like, lovers quarrel. We don't want to get involved with lady stuff, you know, not our business. And Jenkins comes in and immediately is like, you got nothing. You know, he's a frazzled lawyer, but he clearly knows the moves.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, she's fucked now. This movie didn't make Ron Silver being the bad guy a twist at the end of the film. It didn't make it a parallel narrative cat and mouse thing where you wait for her to figure it out. The movie now is she should have all the pieces. The movie should be done, but she can't get anyone to take it seriously.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. She's like trying to deliver her print, and they're like,
they're like,
build a case.
You don't have enough, and it's a type of thing where it's an allegorical for just, you know, women in the workplace come up with a brilliant idea.
Right.
Only when a man repeats it that they like it.
Which Clancy Brown becomes her mouthpiece. Like he starts, after initially being the most dismissive of her, recognizing that she's got something, but also that she is so intrinsically tied to this case. Aside from the fact that she's now, you know, pointing the finger at her latest tryst, also her name continues to be carved into these bullets. This killer's at large.
Yeah.
He knows that somehow it's connected to her. So they give her this temporary detective status, which at first he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like anything but that.
Yeah.
You know, you have to reinstate her because she's been benched at this point. And now they're kind of uneasy partners, but he starts to realize that she's got the guts. She's got the real bones of a great cop.
Do you find
Clancy Brown's terrific in this?
He's a really good performance.
I love him. Yeah, his hair. Well, that's another actor where when you see him young, you're like, oh yeah, I guess right. All of us were once young. You know?
Right. We got to put Clancy Brown in the oven for like 10 more minutes.
Yeah, because I mean,
and then he'll be cooked.
That guy's a real like 90s cartoon villain of a face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that guy looks like he should be fighting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Fights the Highlander. Yeah, he was a Cardigan or whatever.
This is one of his most realistic performances ever.
Yes.
Maybe the most.
I agree.
But do you find it disappointing that
they sleep together?
That they sleep together?
I kind of do.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm not sure why they'd have to.
I suspect
it also comes like real quick
Very
in the
sudden.
middle of a goddamn rampage.
I suspect that was a producer. You know, Edward R. Pressman was a producer of this film,
as was Oliver Stone.
I forgot. Yeah.
But carry on.
I suspect that was a note that they had to do.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to
because
learn.
it also, the sex scene itself feels a little like perfunctory 1990
and it's
thriller
weird.
sex
And there's
film.
a lot. I mean, it's kind of funny to see Clancy Brown's tongue, and there's a lot of his tongue, and that's a glorious thing that we should all have screen capped on our phone. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
and that's also I think where like Bigelow's influence comes in, where it's like, okay, you want me to do a sex scene? It's all going to be a testament to the male tongue. Like that's all I'm going to show you. You know.
And what may have not actually been Jamie Lee Curtis's stomach. It could have been his son's stomach. You know? So anyway, it is upset. I mean, it serves a plot function. He's waiting and she's finally relaxed and having sex with somebody, and then he's in the bathroom, and then he's naked jumping around like it's crazy.
But there's that moment when she kind of goes into his arms and they hug, and I was like, I really like the fact that they didn't kiss right now, and then they start kissing, and I was like, oh, fuck.
It's a disappointment. It's the number one problem with this movie.
I also feel like we don't get enough films about men and women working together who respect each other and have no sexual tension whatsoever.
Right. It just, I never mind if people end up together as long as there's, chemistry and romance and like there's some sort of spark between them. But like, I mean, they have the, we're not so different, and
Yeah.
we're great. They have the mutual respect. But it
That's
just
the thing.
doesn't do enough to suddenly
and
be like,
he's-
oh, they're going to
her-
be.
She's also
Yeah.
his boss. Like it
And
kind
she's
of.
being threatened and harassed and attacked
Well, yeah, she's
from all
having a-
sides.
her
I don't
best
think
friend
she
was
let her
just-
guard down.
Her
Right.
best friend gets gunned down
I mean,
in front
that's.
of
I
her.
guess you could say the only thing is that she needs
She's
a human
retreating,
connection
sure,
right now.
into
but
somebody's.
it seems. You know what? It would have worked if somebody close to him died too.
Sure,
You know,
sure. Well,
but it
instead she just
seems
almost gets him killed.
But
yeah,
the-
it
yes.
seems like it's just wrong.
The
It's just, it's a
timeline
problem.
also is
Yeah.
just kind of crazy for how condensed things become because
Yeah.
it's like, right, she goes to see Elizabeth Pena. She's freaking out about how she can't get this guy, but they're still just sort of like, the way a friend you need at a time like this, a shoulder to lean on, right? And they're walking out casually, and what? Oh my God, Ron Silver's in the stairwell. He
Like
comes
Michael
from
Myers.
behind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, this is where
They
he starts
really
to become
do
like...
almost get this guy like 3 times, and he keeps coming back.
And he starts looking progressively worse and worse,
Now-
right? He goes from being very slick looking
Yeah.
to suddenly looking like a lunatic.
Right.
But
We need
shoots
to wrap
Elizabeth
up
Pena.
soon. I'm
He's
I know.
just giving
yeah.
you the hi hat.
He achieves
I'm
ultimate
not
Ron
cutting you
Silver.
off.
Yes, shoots Elizabeth Pena, and now she's kind of flipping out because she's like, my best friend just got shot. And Richard Jenkins is like, but did you see him? And she's like, I know it's fucking him. He was right behind me. I know his voice. And he's like, but your back was turned, huh?
Yeah,
and it's
which-
just like this whole system.
It's
yes.
so that scene is so frustrating because you're
Right.
like, literally, she was in the room, he shot her,
Yeah.
everyone was in the room together. There's no ambiguity here.
But that's the tension this movie is
Yes.
largely
And I
playing
think
off of
that's
is
the
the
bigger
frustration.
story. Is
right.
like they'll never take you seriously.
Right. And he
You know.
will constantly, guys like this will constantly get away with it.
I know.
He's like a Wolf of Wall Street type. It's just like he can do whatever the fuck he wants and no one's ever stopping
Right.
him.
And it's not to get too political and up in arms, but it should make us all angry because
Yes.
this is we are all gentlemen in this room, but we all have women friends that have come to us with stories. I'm sure where not in the case that Ron Silver's trying to kill my friend, but
right. I
we-
had that once in high school.
I know
Yeah.
we've all had women friends that have said
Yes.
my boss won't listen to me,
Right.
And it's because it's in this film.
Like, I think this movie is trying to make, above all else, men feel angry. Like, I feel like a primary function of this movie is to be like, can I dramatize? What?
we are men.
We are men. And I felt angry watching this
Right,
movie
right.
in a
But it
in a
probably
good
makes
way.
everyone feel angry, right? But yeah, I get what
agree.
you're saying. I
But
get
it's
what you're
almost like
it's playing in a male genre, like
it's a higher stakes, dramatized, action-oriented version of the basic battle against the patriarchy.
Right. Which is a little funny footnote is, I said I was watching it with my wife and she thought the last third of the movie was dumb because it is
Sure.
dumb.
yes, I agree.
And I'm like, but it was
It
great
is.
though. And she was like, yeah, it's kind of dumb. And then I started yelling at her,
Sure.
like this feminist movie more.
yeah.
Right.
yeah,
She was
yeah.
like, it was good, but the end was dumb. I'm like, no.
right, you Hoffman-splained her.
I don't know. I Hoffman-splained her. I don't know if I was splaining or just, I don't know what the hell
Yeah.
it was. It was late and we went to bed.
I mean, I like how
And then,
dumb it gets at the end, but it does get dumb. Like, she just starts swinging for the rafters.
yeah, no, I mean,
Their final confrontation where again, squibs.
And he's
Oh,
like the
yeah.
Terminator at this point. She keeps on shooting him.
Yeah,
he
and he
keeps on
keeps
getting
not
away.
dying.
So
Keeps on
ridiculous.
reappearing anytime she walks into a room.
and it's
anytime she
shot
goes-
right on Wall Street, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yep.
It's his turf. He's hiding, as I mentioned before, he's hiding behind a pretzel hot dog stand.
We've all done it.
But she goes downtown from the hospital because she's hiding in the hospital because something else happened. I don't know. Where the switcheroo in the park. He outwits
That's a
them.
Neil Simon play, right?
Yeah, switcheroo.
Yeah.
He
There's
outwits
also
her.
the other two good scenes with the parents. The one where she goes
Oh,
home
she-
and she recognizes that the
That's
father's
right.
beating her again. She arrests the dad and sits him in
Yeah.
a car.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
just
an
like,
interesting scene though, because it's sort of right. It centers the dad.
but you also get the sense that that's why she's actually wanted to be a cop her entire life.
Yeah.
Is she's wanted to find a way to stop these inherent wrongs that keep on
no,
going
the
on
straight
unchecked.
line is easy to draw there. Yes,
Right.
but then isn't that scene kind of she doesn't end up arresting him.
She's just like, come on, please stop fucking beating my
Yeah,
mom.
right.
It's like, fine, you're getting away with a slap on the wrist. And then the next time she goes to see the parents, Ron Silver's there.
right.
And she's like,
Yeah.
can I talk to you guys alone? And they're like, come on, we have a guest
That
here. It's a
scene
nice
is
Jewish
quite
boy.
strange,
It's
right?
creepy.
Yeah,
Really
where they're
strange.
like, great to meet you.
They're happy that she's got a man.
Louise Fletcher, man.
Yeah.
Right, but he's become the Terminator at this point.
No, I
Like,
know, I
yeah.
know, I know.
It's ridiculous at the end. But the thing that really drives it over the top is she's in the hospital because Clancy Brown got shot and she got shook up, and she leaves the hospital and she bashes another cop over the head to steal his suit.
Yeah.
Wearing his suit, which I guess you could interpret as
Yeah.
she's finally achieving masculinity. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't read
Would
it
have
that
been
way.
easier
but-
just to order from Mac Weldon.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's wearing his his clothing
Lacing up her Converse.
and goes in. She is wearing Converse.
Yeah.
Goes in the subway. Magically, he's there.
Right behind her.
He gets away, and then now it's daytime, even though it's night.
Yeah.
Goes up right at Wall Street and Broadway with the church, whatchamacallit church right behind her. Trinity Church.
Yeah.
Trinity Church downtown.
And then he's just there. And then it's Sergio Leone's shootout at the end.
Yeah.
And it is
She gets a bullet in the shoulder, and he gets like 3 in the chest.
A lot
at
of
least.
slow motion, cars.
And then the ending of this movie is almost identical to the ending of Zero Dark 30, where it's one woman who has been methodically, obsessively just trying to stop this one man who she cannot get her hands on. And then the final shot is her sitting in the car silently, and you just see the shock of like, what is my fucking life now?
Yeah.
It holds on her, and then the credits start rolling over, but it's just her sitting there silently,
going,
not crying, not celebrating, but just sort of like, what the fuck is my life?
Well, she does get 8. I mean, how do you interpret the symbolism of a man takes her out of the car and kind of holds her, kind of like a pietà, if you will? But does she? And I was thinking, I wanted her to like shove him away and walk out on her own. She doesn't.
It also feels like it's like they're like finally carrying their weight and
All
like
right, good.
supporting her.
That's a nice
what
answer.
I would say.
I like that answer.
She's finally had to like.
Again, she's a semiotician. We've talked about it, you know, back in the day, you know.
Right.
So
she's
the
not
men are
messing around
literally
with these
like holding
visuals.
her up and
so it's like she's a
presenting
champion.
her to the gods. Yeah.
Okay,
that was my interpretation.
I like your ending is the ending I want. I, as a negative, cynical bastard, interpreted it as like she's still subservient, but your reading is much better.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie will continue. Like, if they made Blue Steel 2, she'd probably still be doubted by everyone around her.
Right,
she'd work up to a higher ranking.
They might say, you're the one who stopped Ron Silver, but we still don't trust you.
Why'd it take you so long?
Right.
Try
to get Ron Gold.
Right. No, but why didn't you arrest him sooner? Well, I tried. I fucking tried.
They should make a sequel now.
They should. It would
she should come back on the force now, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. They're bringing back Halloween.
Blue Platinum.
Bring back. Boy, oh boy.
It is weird now that like this movie's title is totally ruined by Zoolander.
I know. That's another weird thing. Blue Steel.
Because Blue Steel is a cool title.
No,
When
it's a
you're like,
decent title.
She's a New York cop, and it's about a steel gun.
Yeah. Everything about this movie is cool.
Yeah, this
movie is very cool.
And I think Bigelow, those who are interested in Bigelow, this is I think it's in her top tier for sure.
No question for me.
I think it's
top three.
better than Point Break. Me personally,
I'm gonna see how my final ranking shakes out. But
I think it's Zero Dark 30 and the whatever the locker.
The Foot Locker.
The Foot Locker and this are her best. I like K-19, don't get me wrong.
You like K-19?
You like K-19?
What's there to like?
I don't know.
We struggled with that
That
one.
movie's miserable.
I guess.
Spoilers.
I don't
We
know.
struggled with that one.
Spoilers.
So that movie's all right.
Don't
Unless I'm
get-
confusing it with another submarine.
You might
You might be
confusing
confusing it with another
Who's in
submarine.
K-19?
Harrison Ford, Liam Neeson. Jinx.
Peter
Is there like a
Sarsgaard.
scene where they like send somebody in the back to his certain doom to
They
fix
do.
something?
That's that's what the movie's
It's
about.
a radiation poisoning.
It's not that bad.
It's
I
boring.
mean, it's not like a
It's a-
comically bad movie.
It's
It's
a handsomely boring movie.
It's quite a
I found.
dour, long
Yeah.
movie
Yeah,
where
maybe
not a lot happens.
All I remember is they send like,
They do
come
it.
on, Brooklyn,
Yeah.
go in the back and save the ship. And he's like, I can't do it, boss. And then he does it anyhow.
Already, this sounds better and more lively than K-19. I want to play the box office game.
Yeah.
March 16th, 1990. This
Okay.
movie debuted at the Sundance Film Festival, strangely enough.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Now, I think this is, we're talking 1990 Sundance.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different scene back then.
Sure.
It was a Vestron film that got lost in Vestron's bankruptcy, Vestron being the video company that suddenly started making movies like
Right.
Shopping Mall and Dirty Dancing and whatever.
People weren't happy with it. It came out later through MGM.
It got picked up by MGM. It gets
Right.
put out. It opens number 5
Okay.
at the box office with $2.8 million. It makes 8.
Yeah, not great.
2.
And it costs like 16.
Yeah, I mean, it costs about twice as much.
It's
So
great
it was not a hit.
Yeah.
But number 1 at the box office
Don't
is
tell me.
a submarine movie. In its third week, it's a huge box
for Red
office.
October.
Right? It's
For
gotta
Red
be the
October.
hunt. Hunting.
With Mr. Sean Connery and Mr. Alec
Good movie.
Baldwin. Yeah, that is a
the
pretty
movie
good
still holds up. So this
Is
is
that McTiernan?
That's
Yes,
McTiernan.
yes.
I still have never seen that film.
Oh, that's good.
I'm holding out for when we do our McTiernan series.
The first
which
Jack
we got to
Ryan.
do at some point.
Oh, I'm all in.
Yeah.
McTiernan. That guy's a wacko.
That's also quite a rise and fall.
March 1990 is you saying when this was?
March 16th, 1990. So I was only 4 years old.
I was older, but I did not see it in the movie.
You were 5.
What? So you're going to tell me now what was number 2 at the box office?
Number 2 at the box office is a comedy, sort of. Very strange, fantastic sort of comedy. It's a notorious critical bomb in a beloved actor's career.
The actor is more well known as a comedian? Or?
No, he's just like one of the most famous actors alive.
Oh my God!
In 1990.
Would that have been Jack?
Jack,
that comes
it's
later.
Not,
That's
it's
later.
not Robin Williams.
One of the most beloved actors alive.
Yeah,
and,
to this day.
When was his peak of his career? Are we at the peak right now?
No, the peak of his career will begin soon. He is the king of the 90s.
Oh, it's got to be Jim
It's a
Carrey.
TC movie?
Not Jim Carrey. Huh?
Is it TC?
No, not Tom Cruise.
It's not Bryce Willis.
No.
It's not Arnie Schwartz.
No, 90s.
All right.
I mean, he's big in the 80s too, don't get me wrong. He's already an Oscar
But 90s
nominee.
he blows up. It's not Robin Williams?
No.
Wait, I'm
It's like the most famous actor alive.
Oh, hold on. Who is the most? It's Tom Cruise. Tom
You're
Hanks.
close. Tom Hanks. Tom
Oh,
Hanks.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh, so it's got to be. You said it's not good though.
It was. Some people like this movie, but it was at the time sort of a critical
It's
flop.
not big. Joe versus the Volcano? There we go.
John Patrick Shanley's Joe versus the Volcano.
There we go. I can't believe we didn't think of Hanks.
That is
I mean, how does one describe Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
You know, beloved everyman for
great.
20 years in
And
Hollywood.
he was
you know.
Mr. 90s.
He was
Yeah.
king of the 90s,
Yeah.
He's
practically.
king of everything.
Yeah. King of my heart.
Joe versus the Volcano, which grossed a totally competent $40 million.
Yeah, that's not bad.
For March release.
Adjusted
Considering
is
that movie's
82.
reputation, yeah.
Yeah, everybody
weird
hate-
movie.
People were, as I say, I'm older, so I remember people not seeing that in the theater.
We're angry. And he was kind of the new guy at that point. That was like
Yeah.
viewed as a misstep.
Well,
yeah.
Meg Ryan also was a big deal at the time.
Right,
too.
right.
Now, number 3, I may be telling tales out of school here, but I'm pretty sure this is a movie your father worked on. It is
Really?
a gritty adaptation of a book that had been adapted
Lord of the Flies?
before. Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Oh.
The 1990 Lord of the Flies.
Never
That's much
saw
more
it.
violent, right? I've never seen it.
Yeah, Balthazar Getty. My father worked for Lewis Allen, who was mostly like a Broadway producer. And he had the rights to Lord of the Flies. And I think my father sort of got like grandfathered into a credit on that movie.
Interesting.
certainly there
I
a
just
lot,
know
but it
he,
was more
he
like
has a
him
credit on
shadowing
it,
the
right?
guy.
I'm not crazy.
He does have a credit on that movie, yeah.
Okay.
Which for a while, I think my dad kind of dined out on that because it was a title that everyone knew because everyone knows the
Right,
book. Like no one
right.
had seen that movie.
Yeah,
No,
it
I
wasn't a
never-
hit movie by any means. I'm number 4
Mhm.
is a sort of a hit comedy, like a wacky comedy starring a duo that is the beginning.
Turner and Hooch.
No,
K-19.
No,
K-9.
No, not dog.
Oh,
No,
okay.
they're two people. That
Oh,
like
wow.
is the beginning. I think there's at least 1 or 2 sequels to this movie. These guys never
Oh.
really.
Gee.
They're famous for being in this movie.
And are they in the sequels together?
Yeah. This is like their
Wow, wait,
bread
don't-
and
the-
butter. I think they might be musicians.
Kid and Play?
Oh,
First House Party?
House Party.
Yeah, I saw that in the theaters. You know why we saw that? Because I wanted. This is going to sound like I am the biggest snob, and I swear it's true. You can. I think. I mean, we could check the dates. I wanted to see Glory.
Uh-huh.
Glory is in the box
Yeah.
office right
I
now.
wanted to see Glory,
The
and
Ed
it was
Zwick
sold
movie.
out. So I allowed myself to see this populist motion picture. I was
Sure.
a snob of
a
a
Reginald
kid.
That's a
Hudlin
big
joint.
hit.
I was like 14. So we're talking March of 1990.
Yeah.
I was-
March 1990. Yeah,
How
yeah,
old
yeah.
was I? I was in middle school, early. I was a freshman in high school, but like 8th grade, whatever the hell I
Yeah.
was. And I was the biggest movie snob you've ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Kid
2
and
more
Play.
house parties.
This is the second episode in a row where I've referenced
brought up
House
House Party.
Party.
Well,
That is true.
I mean, I remember not liking House Party, but I remember liking
House Party 2.
the part where I believe it's he's dead now, the actor
Bernie Mac?
Yeah, no,
Or no, the one.
Re-
What's his name?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the BB's Kids
Yeah,
guy.
that guy,
Not
yeah.
Robin Givens. It's
no,
Robin
something or other.
Robin
Yeah.
Harris.
Yes, Robin Harris.
There
who
we
was
go.
also in Do the Right Thing.
No,
So which-
Robin Harris is in the first movie.
That's what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh,
Kid and
okay.
Play.
Sorry.
So
The joke I was making, Jordan
Yeah.
said what
Oh my
I
God.
didn't like that. What I did like was, and the joke I was making was that he liked House Party too.
Yeah, no. So
I confused
so
the issue.
Robin
Okay.
Harris, who I knew because I was an intellectual and I had liked Do the Right Thing because
Sure.
I was a brilliant young kid.
He was a great stand-up.
He has a line which I'm not going to do in the way he does it because
Oh my God.
he does it in African American vernacular English and I'm not going to do it that way.
Sure.
But he shouts. He doesn't like the house party. He's
Sure.
the villain. He wants the house
Sure.
party. to
He
stop.
wants to stop the
So
house
he
party.
shouts out, "This ain't Soul Train," but he says it in a very African American vernacular way.
Okay.
And it killed me. It was the funniest thing I ever heard.
He was a great comedian.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I remember from House Party is him shouting, "This ain't Soul Train." I don't know why I thought it was funny.
But House Party 2, you have
House
comedic
Party
memory.
was written for not Kid and Play,
Kid and Work,
Cheech and Chong?
Adult and
Will
Work.
Smith and Jazzy Jeff.
Oh, weird.
And they turned it down.
Weird.
Oh, there's also
Kid
an
and
Eraserhead joke in that, but I'd seen that in the commercial.
Okay, so
he's
he's got
got the
the
hair.
high top
Yeah,
fade.
the hair.
and he's like, "Hey, Eraserhead," like that's funny.
Other movies in the top 10. You got Driving Miss Daisy, which is about to win its Best Picture Oscar
Not a
for
good
the
movie.
1989 cinema year.
Is that good? Is that movie
no,
good?
It's not a
it's
good movie. That's not a good
horrible.
movie.
I
That's not a
actually
good movie.
recently watched it. I'd
Yeah.
never seen it because I've been just trying to fill in the
No,
gaps
I
of my
remember-
Best Picture winners.
I remember not liking it
It's quite bad.
and saying that it was a joke, and my mother saying that it was good, and I'm like,
Sure.
I think we now have a generation gap.
It's
here.
the kind of movie that at the time played pretty dated and kind
Yeah.
of old fashioned, and now when you watch it, you're like,
A nightmare.
and for I mean, but now especially, but even back then it was politically.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Um,
it's a pretty.
Well, it was like
What-
that was the big statement was like, oh, so like Do the Right
Do the
Thing
Right
doesn't even
Thing
get
doesn't get a
nominated in
Best
the
Picture
year
nomination,
when
right.
Drive Miss Daisy wins. That tells you everything.
Right, and
yet-
Public Enemy even had a song
Yes.
that made fun of the Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
And yet Billy Crystal's Oscar monologue that year begins with Driving Miss Daisy, the movie which I guess directed itself because the director was not
Oh.
nominated, and the audience are like,
That was like famously one of the only Best Picture winners to
Sure.
win without direct
Along with
nomination
Argo.
until Argo.
Here's a little trivia about Driving Miss Daisy. The little theme music.
Yeah.
Can you hum it?
Yeah, it's Hans Zimmer.
I'm
sorry.
Can you imagine Hans Zimmer wrote that?
That's
Yeah,
the best part of the movie.
that
That's
was-
the one thing the movie
He did
still
it
has
all on
going
a
for it.
synthesizer. It was his first ever score.
Dun, dun,
Synthesized clarinet.
It's so weird.
It's a bad movie.
The
No,
good
'cause
score.
he did the score for Rain Man. That was his first score, which also has a weird tinkly kind of
Yeah.
synthesized score.
He was like a light dramedy guy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Lambada is number 8 at the box office this
Hey.
week about the Forbidden Dance.
I never saw that.
But really, you're not going to get to that one.
No, it was big, it was a big hit. at the
Middle
time.
school film snob Jordan
No, it
Hoffman
was a
didn't see
big, it
Lambada.
was a big hit. It was
Born
a
on the
big
4th of July, My Left
saw
Foot,
that.
Glory.
I haven't
some
seen-
of the.
We're in the Oscar corridor.
But you know what?
here,
I
okay?
have not seen Born on the 4th of July since it was in theaters.
Sure, I've never seen Born on the 4th of July.
I've never
It's a
seen it
weird
either.
gap in my.
Yeah.
There's it's sad. There's
Sure,
a part,
he-
you know what
he
struck
got-
me out because I was
his life's
I
gone
was
now.
15, 14, 15 and
Sure.
I like I said, I joking I was Mr. Stop. I was like I had discovered the foreign section. I was
Sure.
like I was then at 14 what David Ehrlich is now. All
Yeah.
right, if you can imagine such
I
a
kind of
thing.
went through a similar phase.
Yeah.
Sure,
So-
sure. We love you, David.
Yeah.
He's listening to this episode.
Yeah, all right, good. I love David. David knows of my.
You were
affection
just
for him.
yelling at David Ehrlich yesterday. It was
he
much tweeted about.
Knows of my love for him, but there's a scene in which he, he's what am I getting? There's a part where like he whips out his genitals to show that he's unable to achieve an erection,
Mhm.
Sure.
and he's yelling at his mom. And he's waving his dick around, and I for some reason that really like freaked me the hell out. You know? I
Yeah, it
don't know.
sounds freaky.
Yeah. They don't really show it, but they show enough. And I'm like, oh, like because I guess it was like, oh, the guy's in a wheelchair is terrible. Like, I guess I never really thought about can a guy in a wheelchair feel his genitals. And at the age of 15 or whatever, this was a big deal.
It was a shocking moment in
Yeah.
your life.
And then there was like a lot of like 60s music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think we should leave it there. Oh, The Handmaid's Tale. That's the only other one in there.
Not a bad film.
Oh.
And you know what?
The original adaptation.
I mean to watch. I intend
The
to
Hulu
watch
series, yes.
the new one. Reed Morano is quite good. I liked her independent
Big
film
fan.
Meadowland.
Yeah.
Meadowland was good.
Yeah. No, she's a good director.
But I did see the Volker Schlorendorf, if I may use that expression, film later.
Are you testing if I'm a replicant?
later
right now?
later in life?
Yeah, I think that's
And I
culturally
thought-
insensitive.
And it was good. I mean, I'm sure nowhere near as good as the book.
No,
or the kind
it's
show,
sort of an
but-
odd little thing, but
Yeah.
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 All right, Jordan, you got to get out of here.
I do,
We're
but
gonna
I
give
feel
you a
bad.
goodbye.
I was the guy who had to bring up the penis aspect in the gun, and I'm just talking
No,
about
that
Tom
was good.
Cruise's
That
penis.
was good.
I want to let listeners know that I don't normal. It's when I'm
You're
around.
not as phallic.
No, it's when I see you, Dave.
Well,
You know,
also,
I-
I mean,
sure.
look, we're crazy about Mac Weldon. If you're thinking about underwear all the time, you know, of course it's going to come up. I mean, this episode was, of course, brought to you by Mac Weldon.
yeah, comfort.
And we're glad to have it be brought to you
And such
by
a
them.
funny coincidence that they sponsored this episode and we also end up talking about them for 10 minutes. Isn't it kind of nice how that happens
That's how it
organically?
goes.
I mean, it's a good thing because we would have talked about them for no reason otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jordan, people can follow you on Twitter. They can listen to Engage.
Yes, if you like Star Trek, and even if you don't, you can listen to my podcast, which you can find anywhere. Engage. And I'm on Twitter, Jay Hoffman. You could read my movie reviews on The Guardian, Vanity Fair.
They're all over the place.
Damn right.
I've got a piece in an upcoming magazine only, which is only subscribers that have the Amex Black Card can read.
Wow.
Well, there you go. Hey, it's a great new media world we all live in.
I'll write for whomever wants. But if you by and large, you can find me at home. Just come by and
Yeah,
serve
okay,
you-
so
serve
come
you a cup
by.
of tea.
We'll hang out.
At Jordan's home. He'll be hanging out there with the door open. Ron Silver will have already arrived.
I'll be in my Mac Weldon underwear.
Hey, Mac Weldon, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Go to reddit.blankies.com for some real nerdy shit. Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media. Thank you to Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. Lee Montgomery for our theme song. Big thanks to Mac Weldon for
Sponsoring this episode.
Putting
Supporting this podcast.
clothes on genitals.
Yep.
And as always, I should state right here that I have, since recording the last episode, been corrected.
Forgot about this.
The woman who married into my family
Right.
and then became the first American to get the bubonic plague in 100 years.
Right. Was
Is-
not a Dixie chick.
Different person.
Right.
Different person.
Okay.
What?
You'll have to listen to the last
You gotta go
episode,
back and listen to
Jordan.
the last episode.
And then you'll know.
There are two different people who are connected to my family through marriage. One of them was the Dixie chick who left the Dixie Chicks, and the other one got bubonic plague. So, and as always, as I
Wow.
say at the end of every single episode, there is no former member of the Dixie Chicks who
got the
also
bubonic plague.
is a survivor of the bubonic plague.